Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of The Fan Show, where we'll be talking to Spurs fans dotted all around the world, getting their thoughts on Tottenham Hotspur right now. And of course, we do have that great game in the FA Cup on Sunday as we'll be travelling away to Tamworth. I've got Craig Dearman with me, but before we get Craig's thoughts ahead of this Tamworth game, I'd just like to ask a big favour from everyone. We have been shortlisted at the Sports Podcast Awards. We are in the category of Best Team Podcast. All of the details are below, so if you could vote for us, it would be really, really appreciated. It is literally the last couple of days of voting, as voting ends on the 13th of January. Craig, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all good. All good. Looking forward to the FA Cup game tomorrow. Love the FA Cup, magic of the FA Cup. It reminds me of, takes me back to being a kid in the 80s before anybody says anything. It was such a special competition, and it still is for me. And it's games like this against Tamworth and like the one we had against Marine a few years ago that, you know, there's always that slim chance there's an upset in the cup, and I just hope Spurs don't take Tamworth too lightly, because we've all seen what can happen. That video of Ronnie Radford scoring the winner against Newcastle all those years ago. These upsets can happen. And these little grounds.
What do you make of the pitch at Tamworth, the 3G pitch? Of course, you played a lot of football in your life. 3G pitch, it has got a slight slope. And Jazz Singh, the Tamworth goalkeeper, has said Tottenham are going to hate it here.
Yeah, it's a funny old surface. The artificial pitch is. When they first came in, the ones that were at, I think Luton, was it Luton and QPR? That was the old sort of hockey style pitch where you got, I'm sure we've all had it, anybody that's played football. I played in a tournament, the yearly tournament where I used to work down at Battersea Park, and they had the old hockey style pitch. And whenever you did a sliding tackle, you took about 12 layers of skin off, and it took ages till it was one of those sort of injuries that stuck to your trousers. You know, they were horrible, but obviously they've improved a lot. But it's still not like playing on grass. It's a harder surface. The ball bounces more. The ball doesn't react the same as on grass. So it is going to be tough for Spurs. But look, they were supposed to be training on an artificial pitch yesterday, I believe, and perhaps this morning. So, and I know Spurs have got an indoor artificial pitch. So, you know, they're professional footballers. They should be used to it. I just hope they don't take Tamworth too lightly, because we've seen in the past what can happen.
We need a very professional job, obviously. We're going to go to our first guest now. And if any of you would ever like to come on the show, please do send me an email, tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. It would be great to hear from you. It's always great to hear from so many Spurs fans dotted all around the world, getting everyone's thoughts, because there are so many different opinions on our great football club right now. So first guest, we're going to go to John. John, hello, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Very well.
Hi, John.
John, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now? Because, of course, last week, losing to Newcastle in the Premier League, we're sitting in 12th place in the Premier League table. But, of course, we did win that first leg against Liverpool. A very impressive display. Lots of players taking opportunities. You know, so many positives to take from Wednesday.
I suppose feeling overall a little bit underwhelmed. The Liverpool result has kind of like papered over a lot of it, in terms of we did play well Wednesday night. I thought we deserved it. I was really pleased. Everyone, and it looks like they're all playing for the manager, which is great, right? Really buoyed by that. Overall, I have frustration. I want Ange to do well. I want Ange to stay and all of that good stuff. But I do get frustrated with I find it a little bit arrogant, and I felt as though what was quite good about Wednesday was he was kind of forced to play that more pragmatic midfield, and it massively helped us out. I know Bentancur obviously got injured, and Kulusevski come inside, but ultimately in the mindset thing, we were a little bit more pragmatic, and it certainly helped. And the work rate and the effort, particularly from Bergwijn, and was outstanding. So buoyed by the fact we're going to Liverpool with you know, a small advantage in the 1-0 win. Our league form has to massively improve. I was worried about tomorrow. I have to say I was. I don't think you'd be a Tottenham fan if you weren't. I had any excuse, right? 3G pitch, freezing cold, on a little bit of a slope, non-league. We're not going to fancy it. But we just got to be, like you said, be professional. Just be professional. Put a couple of experienced players in there. Just focus on playing the game. Just win the game and get through.
John, you mentioned there about a bit more pragmatic Wednesday, and I agree with that. But in my opinion, I think we actually look better when there's a double pivot, sort of like in the CDM role, sort of thing, where there's, you know, against certain teams. Obviously, tomorrow I don't expect us to play like that. With respect to Tamworth, you know, we should be playing perhaps 2 more attacking players than just 1. But I think we look better like that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. We have this. What frustrates me, I sit behind the goal in the south stand, but last season I had a couple of times along the sides, and you can see the transition changes in how we played. Like the Newcastle game, we won 4-1. It was very much like a 4-1-4-1, and that was good. We ended up in 1 pivot, but we looked quite solid by doing that, and the different changes in formation. This year I haven't seen it so much. But to answer your question, I think definitely having the double pivot in there. My biggest frustration, and it's been within the club since Pochettino, is this playing out from the back. I get why you do it, totally understand, but we can't do it. The third pass kills us. Centre back to goalkeeper to other centre back to goalkeeper to midfielder, gone. We lose it. And hence that goal that Newcastle, I mean, it shouldn't have counted, but that goal they equalised with last week. It's our own doing. You know, I don't find teams batter us. I just think it's our mistakes. I don't think we're confident doing it. And against Liverpool, funnily enough, in the week, some of those balls over the top, man, we were getting up the pitch. We're getting in and play over there, press, play over it, and getting into those good areas. Change it up a little bit, and I don't think we do that enough.
He always wants to play that same way, though, John, doesn't he? He always wants that same style. And it's funny because a lot of pundits have come out and said this. I think Gary Neville and Carragher also said it, that, you know, when you've got different players coming in, you can't play that same style sometimes because the players just aren't good enough to play that system. But he wants to keep playing that. I wanted to ask you about Anthony and Kinsky, because you said that you're in the south stand. You would have seen the goalkeeper up close. What did you make of his performance? And of course, Anne just confirmed that Kinsky is going to be playing against Tamworth because he's rusty. I tell you what, if that's a rusty Kinsky, let's see a sharp one.
I thought, you know what? I really loved it. He owned it. He's come in. He spent 2 days with the club at the club. Just owned it, confident, barking orders, organising. He was playing high up the pitch. His distribution, very comfortable. I did read that his dad kind of trained him as a midfield player, because if you're going to be a goalkeeper, you're going to have to use your feet. And so confident in how he did it, how he was talking to everybody. It's like he'd been there a long time. Really impressed. Really, really impressive debut. Really good find. So fair play to the recruitment team on that, and fair play for getting them in 6 months earlier as well. Because when with the goalkeepers and stuff, I mean, in Fraser Forster's defence, as a goalkeeper, he's always been the catch it and kick it. That was what he's always trained to do. And he's got in the twilight years of his career, we're asking him to play out from the back, something is completely alien to him. And obviously saw against Man United how that fared for him. But yes, really, really, really optimistic about this guy. Really, I felt really confident with him, particularly the ball coming back to him. And he just, you know, even when he was being closed down, didn't seem to be a problem. And the little things like chipping it over Salah's head and that kind of stuff. And he did make some good saves. And also, what I did like about his game management as well, towards the end of the game, he would just go down on the floor and hold it. Just takes the pressure off, just takes the sting out of it.
Everyone else does it.
Everyone else does it, but apart from ours. You know, Vicario, quickly get it, bang, let's go again. Mate, 5 minutes to go, 1-0 up, just chill. And I think that was really, really good. So I'm hoping we're just going to grow and grow from that. And Vicario, and it's good as well, because it puts a little bit of fire under Vicario's feet, you know, thinking, actually, do you know what? I've got someone here. I'm challenging him. We would love that all over the park. But if we start with that goalkeeper thing, too good. Because Vicario is good. He is good. See what kind of pressure he puts on him to come back and what have you. So confident with him.
John, last question for you. Of course, we face Arsenal next in the Premier League. How are you feeling ahead of that one?
Do you know what? I'm not optimistic about it. I have a problem with us going to top 6 away anyway. I think we just don't fancy it. Liverpool, Chelsea, apart from City, because we seem to do quite well there.
That has to change, though, doesn't it? At some point, that has to change, that we go to these big grounds, these big clubs, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool. I speak about this on the channel so often. These grounds that I go to year after year, Arsenal, Chelsea and Liverpool, it really does get to me that every single time I come away from these grounds, I'm feeling disappointed. Has to change.
It's a mentality thing, because I always think, right, if we went to Stamford Bridge and they put out their under-15s, we'd still get beat, because we're playing the club, not the team in front of you. And there's been occasions where we've played a poor Arsenal team at the Emirates, or we've played a poor Chelsea team, and we've rolled over because we're not going to win this. We're not going to, you know. And I hate that. That's what I really hate about this, the mentality of it. Go there and play the team in front of you. Do you know what? You never know what might happen. But our record at Anfield is appalling. Stamford Bridge is appalling. The Emirates is appalling. You've got to change it, grasp it and own it. And I think sometimes the players in that, they just get consumed with the occasion maybe, and they just play within themselves, within their shell. We don't have anyone really who stands up to it. You know, I like a Roy Keane, somebody that's just going to just own it. You know, when things are going bad, just own it and just pull people up. And because we're quite nice, aren't we? Mourinho used to say it, we're too nice. And
I don't know whether the Roy Keanes in 2025 exist.
You're right. It's all broken. So yeah, I agree with you. But do you know what I mean? Though, but someone's just going to grab it and go. Even like that Newcastle game last week, goal up after 4 minutes, concede after 2 minutes later. Just own it. Like just grab the team together and just listen. This is your job. This is what you're going to be doing. And when we don't, we seem to just sort of kind of just. I'll be all right. We'll get a few chances in a minute. No, we need someone that's going to give it a little bit of. And I hoped kind of Romero would be like that. And I don't know. So you know, Son leads by example, I guess. But someone a bit more. Kulusevski might do. You know, he's captain of Sweden. He might be a bit more. He certainly leads by example, because that kid doesn't half run. But I think he's got a bit about him in terms of his mentality. You know, about how he just don't put up with it. I get that impression when he talks as well. He's not, you know, he's not as smiley and everything, even after a win. He's like, it says like ultimate pro. So there might be something about that with him. But his
John,
goalkeeper is going to be good as well.
I get the feeling with you that we could talk about Tottenham all day long. So I'd like to get you on the Spurs Chat podcast in the future. So if you're up for it, please do let me know. And you're very welcome to come back on the channel. But thank you so much for joining us today.
Appreciate it, and thanks a lot for your time. Hopefully win tomorrow.
Cheers, John. Speak to you soon.
Thanks, John.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
We're now going to go to Steve in the Czech Republic. Steve, how are you? Oh, Steve's frozen. We'll come back to Steve. We're going to go to Liam. Liam, hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you both?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Good.
Liam, how are you feeling about the Tamworth game tomorrow?
I'm feeling a bit nervous, to be honest, because it's these kind of games where, you know, they come into it and they'll be really up for it. Our lads might not be as up for it as Tamworth will be. And I think a lot of pundits and fans and stuff underestimate the non-league teams, but they're very hard hitting, you know, that they'll be well up for it at home as well, with all their home support behind them. I think we'll probably find it harder than what we're expecting to, but like previous guests have said, we just need to be professional and get the win in the end. But I'm a bit nervous.
I think that's the key, isn't it? Just being professional, not underestimating, because, you know, against Marine, to be honest, I'm quite relaxed about tomorrow. I think we're going to get a result. I think we're going to go about our business. It's not. I might feel different after 5 minutes into the game, but look, they're going to come at us straight away. The crowd, like you say, is going to be up, even though it's a smaller crowd than what they're used to. But they're going to make a hell of a lot of noise and try and cheer the team on and push them on, obviously, because they know they're obviously playing a Premiership side. But we are going to rotate. Do you think the pitch is going to play a big part, Liam? Do you think that's going to be a big advantage for Tamworth?
I think the slope might be, because they say that there's a big slope or something at one end. And I think the slope will probably play into their hands a lot more, because obviously they'll know how to play it. But I don't think the 3G pitch will, because I think we have, like, at the training centre, we have a 3G pitch inside. So I think they should know how to play on it. But I think probably the slope might play into their hands a bit more. They'll know how to play it we might get caught out, especially, when we play like a long ball down the line or something. If Werner starts where we look for Werner on the wing, I think that might kind of play into their hands a bit more. The ball might skid as well because of the ice and, it being frosty and it being a 3G pitch, the ball probably skid on a bit more. So I think that'll probably play into their hands a bit more. But I back us to probably be professional and know how to play that. I'm sure we would have, been training in the week to counteract anything that might play into their hands.
Liam, of course, the Tamworth fans are looking forward to seeing all of the Tottenham Hotspur first team, but this is probably the best and most likely opportunity that Ange Postecoglou is going to get to rest the likes of Kulusevski, Solanke, Pedro Porro. Would you expect the likes of Dorrington and Lancashire to start this game?
100%. I'd love to see them play that start the game. Like Moore's back from injury now. I'd love to see Mikey play. Lancashire up front, maybe Moore on the wing. Dorrington's a really good young centre back. When I watched an under-21 game down the road against Arsenal when we beat them, I think it was 4 or 5-1. And Dorrington was so good at the back. He commands that back four. And I'd like to see him play in the first team. I think he'd be good. I mean, when he came on, was it in the Europa League? Or Ange brought him on in one of the games? Southampton, that's it, yeah. And he looked quite good. And I'd love to see the younger players start and get a chance.
Do you think there's a danger, though, we don't want to over-rotate and put in almost a brand new 11? Or do you think we could get away with it and we should still have too much for Tamworth in essence?
I think to us a healthy mix of both. Some experience and some of the young players, like maybe start a Basuma or a Sarr in midfield. Maybe start Kulusevski, but bring him off at half time if we're 2 or 3 up. But I think like a healthy mix of both is the best way probably to go about it, because then you're not throwing all the younger players kind of out into that atmosphere where the fans are really close to the pitch. It's intense. The Tamworth players can be well up for it, more hard hitting than you probably get in the Premier League, rougher tackles. So I think probably a healthy mix of both is probably the best way to go about it.
Liam, lots of reports are stating that Randall Kolo Muani has chosen Juventus over a move to the Premier League to either Spurs or Manchester United. Your thoughts on this? Are you disappointed, or are you hoping that Spurs are going to go after someone else anyway?
I'm quite disappointed, to be honest, because he's a very pacey player, and like we saw against Liverpool the other day, where Dom, when he can hold up that ball and lay it off like he did for the Bergvall goal, that is, I think, where Muani would have fit perfectly into our squad. If you have Muani and Solanke up front, you can pump the ball up to Solanke. Solanke can hold on to it and then lay it off to Muani with his pace. And then Solanke, when he's in the 6-yard box, he can poach, and Muani can with his pace break through defences. I'm quite disappointed to us that he's chosen Juventus over us.
I'm not surprised though, because Juventus are Juventus, really. We got lucky, not lucky, but obviously Bergvall, we stole a march on Barcelona, wasn't it? And we've obviously Mickey van der Ven chose us as well. So you win some, you lose some. I was never convinced I always ask questions when players are out of favour at big clubs like PSG, and sometimes it's because of they just don't fit the system or whatever. But I'm not that disappointed if he does choose Juventus. I think there'll be somebody else out there. Who would you want to see come in, Liam, if he does go to Juventus?
Oh, if he does go to Juventus, who would I like to see come in? I mean, realistically, I'd quite like to see like a Semenyo from Bournemouth. He impresses me quite a lot as a winger. I think he's quite a good player. Or a Clivert. I think they're both really good players. Quite a lot of the Bournemouth players I'm really quite impressed with. I think players like that, realistically, we should be looking at instead of going to like the bigger teams, or because especially as well, it's January and not a lot of players are going to want to move. But if you go target teams like Bournemouth, who I think have some decent players, then I think they're more likely to come to Spurs. But I'd really like to see Semenyo or Clivert come to the club.
But Rashford.
Would
you take Rashford?
I'd take him because I think there's still a player in there. I think it's just about a manager that can get that out of him. And I think Ange probably would be that manager that could get that out of him and push him on. I think there's definitely still a player in there. It's the same with Grealish. If Grealish was to come to Spurs, I'd take him because I think there's a player in there. It's just about getting that out of him and giving him confidence back. And I think Ange would be the perfect manager to do that.
Liam, lastly, score prediction for tomorrow?
5-0 Spurs. Be confident.
Love it. Have a great weekend. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Cheers, Liam.
Cheers.
We're now going to go to Phil. Phil, hello. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. A little bit cold up north here, but it's Pav says hello, by the way, Chris, from Yorkshire
Yes.
Spurs. He says
Phil, how are you feeling ahead of the game tomorrow in Tamworth?
I mean, me and Tamworth don't get on because I get stuck on there a lot on the train down at Milton Keynes when I go to work. So when Tamworth came out, I'm like, Tamworth's cursed for me. And obviously, you know, we talk about the Spurs, there's a curse at the minute with injuries. Listen, it's an old 3G pitch that, you know, we can play on, we can train on our new one at the training ground and stuff like that. But, you know, it'll be cold. It won't be great. Listen, we'll win. Like, you know, because we'll have people on the bench that we can bring on. Andy's comments yesterday when they were saying about multimillionaires, he's like, look, some of these players have come from here. And I think, you know, when we look at Mourinho against Marine and things like that, I think Ange will send them out in the right way and we'll win. It's just, let's hope we don't get any more injuries.
And that is the worry, isn't it, on that 3G pitch, Phil? Because yeah, absolutely. We touched on it earlier. That is an old 3G pitch. It's going to have a bit of wear and tear on it. It's not going to be exactly the same as what the Spurs one is. Do you think? I asked this to Liam, but do you think the crowd will play a big part tomorrow for Tamworth? Is that like their 12th? That's going to be their 12th man, essentially, isn't it?
100%. You know, they're on TV. You know, they've got that lad who can launch the ball. You know, that's how they knocked Huddersfield out. I mean, I'm literally a stone's throw away from York City's ground here, and you know, York have played them. They'll be up for it. You know, because you know, we've played against the Spurs legends for Yorkshire Spurs, and you know, you're playing against people you've seen on the TV, and you know, it'll be the biggest game in their lives. I mean, they're charging 50-60 quid, I think, for the home tickets at Tamworth, which, you know, so maybe you're not going to get some of the supporters there that you might have done, but listen, they'll be up for it, and the pressure's on us. There's no pressure on them. The pressure's all on us because it'll be, you know, Wrexham Arsenal embarrassment from back in the 90s if we got knocked out.
It's a sellout at Tamworth, so it's going to be a very, very interesting atmosphere there. I was saying on the podcast yesterday that Spurs have travelled to the likes of Galatasaray and Rangers, so I think that we can cope with this Tamworth, this small ground there. Phil, of course, next up in the Premier League, Arsenal away. How are you feeling ahead of that game? Because, as I mentioned earlier, you know, Ange has got to make a couple of changes. The likes of Kulusevski, the likes of Son, I think will probably travel, but I hope that he probably don't get any minutes because these guys could really do with a little bit of a break.
Yeah, Son looks burnt out. Absolutely burnt out. He's not the player. Obviously, the contract for him, I don't think is what he all wanted. We've extended it. So it feels like we've just taken the option rather than sat down and, you know, mutually agreed it. He needs to break.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised by that, by the way?
No. I think we've obviously we're you know, the Levy haters will be like, oh, he's protecting an asset and stuff, which is a smart thing. Look at Liverpool. Liverpool have got three of their biggest players out of contract, and they haven't committed yet. So that must be playing on Son's mind as well. I think, you know, he's obviously hasn't got that link up play that he had with Harry. But I think we'll move him on in the summer, and I think we're just trying to get a bit of a fee. Yeah. I think if an offer comes in, I think we'll move him on. And he's a great servant for the club. But I think, you know, you look at Kinsky after the game of the night, and I'm like, he's going to be the new fan favorite. I think, you know, when he's hugging his sister in the crowd, and I think he's going to be the one that will you kind of get that fan favorite tag that, you know, Son's had for years. But yeah, against Arsenal, you know, we should have beaten them at our place. You know, I think they'll try their corners. I was watching them the other day. I think Kinsky will do better on the corners. I think we look more solid with a goalkeeper who plays our way. Dragusin looked a different player the other night. Like Dragoson was doing a Romero at one point and was up front. You know, he was just like, because he knows. I think there was one bit where it cut back and Kinsky was like at the centre circle. You know, like we've not had a goalkeeper play out, and it just pushes them up. So listen, it's always going to be it's always a tough game away at the top six.
Yeah.
You were saying earlier on, you know, I think we'll beat them. I think Ange is having the season most of us would have expected last season. We're having he's got money in the bank from how we started. I think they're backing him. The players are playing for him. They'll go out and they'll do their best on Wednesday, and you know, we want to win, don't we? But we just want them to show they care, and I think they are showing their care.
I think from what I've heard, the Arsenal fans are a bit nervous about Wednesday, to be honest, and thinking it's primed for Tottenham to do one on them, to be honest with you. I mean, you ask any Tottenham fan, they're not going to say the same thing. But it is funny, isn't it? Because obviously Arsenal have just they've not been their scintillating best, have they? I think it is a chance for Tottenham. Do
you know what?
If we can get a goal in front, you know.
Even Liverpool fans were moaning. I know obviously they lost at Spurs, but even they're moaning at the moment about a couple of dodgy results, as they put it. You know, they're sitting top of the Premier League. It just seems that, you know, what fans are happy with their club and their form, because they're sitting top of the Premier League. They're still in every single competition. You know, the football that they've played is crazy sometimes, isn't it?
It's the strangest. I don't remember a season like this. Like, you know, maybe the Leicester one, which I won't. I just pains me whenever I talk about, that season, because everyone wanted Leicester to win. I don't remember a season where you've had so many teams can beat anybody. You know, Bournemouth can beat Ipswich. Look at Ipswich now. You know, they beat us, but then they're going and beating, you know, Chelsea and things like that. I think there's so many teams can beat anybody. But, you know, Newcastle the other night just went 5-5. They got 2 goals up and went 5-5 and just completely just shut up shop. And we won't do that. But Arsenal, you know, they were complaining about the ball and this and the other. They didn't, as you say, they're missing Saka. Now, you know, they're missing Saka, but we're missing 8 more players than that. So listen, it'd be a good game. I just want them to go out there and show their care. And I think they're doing it. I think they all care. You can see they're not coming off the pitch kind of, you know, oh, well, you know, they're playing for the manager, they're playing for the badge, they're playing for the club, and that's all I want from the players.
I love that. The fans in the past have moaned about the weather. The manager complains about the ball. You know, whatever next. It'll be an interesting one. Phil, thanks so much for joining us. Have a great weekend and enjoy the game tomorrow. We'll talk to you soon.
See you later, mate.
Cheers, Phil.
See you, mate.
We're now going to go to, where's he gone? Steve in the Czech Republic. Steve, we got you back. How are you?
Yeah. Hi, guys. Yeah, I don't know. Something happened. It froze earlier on when you were going to call me in. So, yeah, I'm fine. Yourself?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Steve, you emailed me of a great story. Do you want to share it on here?
Well, yeah, I don't have it in my head. I had quite a few stories about Kinsky when he was playing at these 2 other clubs, Vyshkov and Pardubice, on loan. And the trainers at various stages at both clubs said, oh, okay, it's like some kind of a break in the training and that. And he says, I don't want a break. I've got plenty of time for that when I'm old, you know, or older. I want to train. So if you can leave me, you know, the access to facilities and the gym. And he did, and he stayed and he trained. He's the best trainer at every club he's been at, or the hardest trainer. And that's amazing for a keeper. He's not an outfield player.
Yeah.
Although he plays like one sometimes. Yeah, so... I mean, the day before he was due to fly to London, he was actually due to go to a training camp in Spain with Slavia. And then he got the call. So all his gear had been sent on to Spain, been transported to Spain. So he didn't have any gloves and he didn't have any boots before he came to Tottenham. So he had to go back to his hometown of Pilsner, where the beer comes from, as you probably know. I've got a bottle of it here, actually, just to show you. The best bottle in the world, best beer in the world, that is. That's where he was born, lucky boy. Anyway, so that's why he had to go back home and to his hometown and get some boots and some gloves before he could fly out to Tottenham. So yeah, he's an amazing trainer.
Craig, how How refreshing is that to hear that story from a young player? But I suppose a lot of that will come from his dad, who, of course, was a professional goalkeeper. And it must be so good to be that young footballer, to have your dad's experience, not only being your dad, but of course, guiding you, going down the right paths, being a professional.
Oh, yeah, it's worth its weight in gold, isn't it? But it is funny, you do hear about these top players, not all of them, but some of them, like the stories about how they were, when they had a good, stable father to push them, or that work ethic to stay behind after training. Whether it be free kicks, practicing one-on-ones or whatever it is. Harry Kane used to do it. Glenn Hoddle used to do it. David Beckham used to do it. Messi. So it's lovely to see with the goalkeeper that kind of just wants to do that extra training. And I assume, Steve, that he must be held in incredibly high regard back home, is he?
Yeah, he is, most definitely, yeah. Do you mean within the football community, or how do you mean exactly?
Just generally in the footballing world, in the country itself, they're obviously expecting great things from him.
Yeah, no, like I said to Barnaby on the last podcast I was on after the last game we played, I was saying what they were saying on a football studio program. They're not only expecting him to become the number one in the Premier League, they're expecting to become one of the best in the world. They're serious about it. They're saying, Peter Cech was the last real top goalkeeper out of the Czech Republic, and he will outshine him, or he will outperform him. I know he plays he's a different style of goalkeeper altogether, but in terms of being held in high esteem, or the level he's going to reach, to the extent that they said something that quite annoyed me, which was, yes, he's probably going to use Tottenham as a stepping stone to like teams like Real Madrid or Barcelona. But obviously,
yeah, we've heard that before.
I don't think he himself is actually looking at that. But I just listened to his last interview with the Slavia Prague TV in Czech, because I should do. I've been here a long time. I understand Czech. And he was actually saying that his father told him when he was a young boy, you've got to be ready when you get older, because very rarely chances come along which are like a dream. So be ready. And he said, so I always remembered that from a very young age. And so he said, now I'm ready. And now I'm, really happy to be going to Tottenham.
Do you know what I like about him? And it was so good to see. And it's just the little thing. I don't know if anybody's even picked up on it. I mentioned it. You know how cold it was Wednesday? Chris, you were there, obviously, so you know how bloody cold it was in the stadium.
Short sleeve shirt, yeah?
Short sleeve shirt, no Under Armour. Now that is the sign, in my opinion, that he's double hard. Because you're a goalkeeper. You're not running around keeping warm as a goalkeeper, as we all know. And to wear short sleeve shirts is the first thing I noticed, and I said, love that. Absolutely love it. Yeah.
They're actually pretty hardy people here in Eastern Europe. I'm totally amazed sometimes. Went down to the shops the other day. It was -4. There's a geezer in a pair of shorts and a t-shirt and a pair of flip-flops. I think it was a particularly mad one, but no, it has got here over the times I've been here. It's been like -20. I mean, in the towns. Prague is obviously a big city, so it warms up quite a lot. But they're very hardy people. Yeah, they're very. It might be like He's very tough boy. He speaks very well. His English.
Saying that, my postman still wears shorts in the snow, so that's pretty hard as well, I suppose. Steve, last question for you. Of course, we face Tamworth on Sunday. How are you feeling ahead of this game? And of course, we face Arsenal on Wednesday. How tough's that going to be?
Right, okay, first Tamworth. I mean, I've got memories of going to watch Tottenham away at Margate, 1972-73 season. Martin Shivers scored a couple, and it's very close to my sort of boyhood town, which was Ramsgate. So now they're in the Isthmian League South, I think, something like that. It's funny, that was a day out, and we won 6-0. I mean, I'm a bit nervous, obviously, about the pitch. It's already been mentioned by the previous 2 or 3 guests, the slope. It's going to be cold. I've seen the changing rooms. Obviously, it's all going to be tidied up by the time they get there. I mean, I'm hoping we put it to bed in the first half, like something like 3-4-0. And then even as Spurs against a team like Tamworth, we can actually relax at half time. With regard to the Arsenal game, I mean, I like it. I always like it when we're the underdogs, and generally are against the top 6 teams or top 5 teams. And so I think we might surprise them. I would settle for a draw. I'll not settle for a draw. I think we'll probably draw. I don't think we'll get beat. The same as I didn't think we'd get beat against Liverpool. I didn't expect us to win. I called that a draw as well, but I expected good things. Yeah, no, positive. I really enjoyed the Liverpool game, the fight, some fantastic performances. I don't like negatives, but the only negative with me was Johnson's performance, which I thought was horrendous again, but maybe he'll bounce back. Yeah, Arsenal have lost Saka, so there's a little bit of they're sort of down a bit, not so full strength. So yeah, I'll go draw.
Steve, you're always a great guest. Thank you so much. Yeah. Always welcome here, and have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too, guys. See you, Craig.
Speak to you soon.
Steve.
Cheers, Steve.
See you, Chris. All the best. Bye bye.
We're now going to go to Paul over in Ireland. Paul, how are you?
Good afternoon, guys. How are you doing?
Very good, very good. Paul, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now? What positive did you take from Wednesday? Because the likes of Dominic Solanke laying off Bergvall scoring, Kinsky, another great performance from Archie Gray, Jed Spence. I felt like there were so many positives from Wednesday. And I tell you what, straight after the final whistle, that feel-good factor seemed to be back. I know someone earlier mentioned that it's kind of papering over some of the cracks in the Premier League right now, but cup competitions mean an awful lot to Spurs fans. Of course, we're playing the FA Cup tomorrow against Tamworth, but how are you feeling about Wednesday? Lots of positives.
Oh, absolutely. Papering over the cracks, I don't buy into. I think any of the 20 Premier League teams would struggle or would have our struggles if they lost that many first-team players. This is it. And we're going. It's been very, very difficult. We're playing, 2 18-year-olds, 2 which on Wednesday night were just, in my opinion, out of this world. Archie Gray, Bergvall were just incredible from start to finish. Not a foot wrong. I think the whole performance on Wednesday was fantastic. I was on with Barnaby after the game on Wednesday, and one of the things that we noticed was the goalkeeper's positioning. Look 10 yards further forward, which cut out any long ball coming from Liverpool. They just couldn't play that, which I think we are quite open to when we are defending on our halfway line. It's an easy tactic. But the goalkeeper cut that out just by where he was standing. And although it was great to see, it really, really puzzled me because Vicario doesn't do that. Now, what I wanted to know is that a goalkeeping decision? Is it a manager decision? Because if it's a manager decision that he's telling Kinsky, look, this is where I want you to be, why has he not been telling Vicario? That's where I need you to be.
It must be quite a shock though, Paul, for Vicario sitting on the bench, for a new goalkeeper to come in and then suddenly Vicario's thinking, oh my God, what's happening here? Because when a goalkeeper comes in and has a debut like that, particularly in the semi-final under pressure, and puts in a performance like that, and Ange Postecoglou's come out and said he's rusty, he hasn't played a game for a month. Let's wait until we see a sharp Kinsky. But what must Vicario be feeling right now?
Absolutely, I'll be honest. I think Vicario's in a spot of bother. I really do, because if you can play that well on your debut, and you're showing different qualities to what we have seen before from Vicario and even Forster when he has had to stand in. He looked so comfortable on the ball. His range of passing was far better, and his positioning in order to cut out a tactic that teams use against us quite regularly. It just nullified an attempt of attack that we are quite open to, and it made the opposition think that we are going to have to do something different. And I think it played to our strengths. I really did, because we ended up getting more of the ball. We used it better, and it made our midfield players, I think, Bissouma, I was worried about Bissouma after he got booked on 31 minutes, but he was so disciplined afterwards. It was, I thought it was fantastic to see Bergvall box to box all night long, got the goal he deserved. I thought he was outstanding, absolutely outstanding.
Paul, coming on the Tamworth, who would you play up front across that front three?
I suppose you're probably, because he's not getting much game time and his performances probably deserve that. I would probably go with Werner Johnson, because I think he's lacking confidence and could do with another runabout. Maybe Lancashire. I think he actually played quite well. It was away to, was it Ferencváros we have in the Champions or in the Europa League? I think
he scored at Galatasaray as well.
Yeah. So I think we could. Yeah. No, we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Look, we don't have a full squad to pick from, so even rotating what we do have fit may be quite difficult. But as with your previous caller there, I would rather go relatively strong from the start, try and get it done by half time, and get the players off the pitch as quick as possible, with a look at next Wednesday night. Because I'm in agreement. I honestly do. I would be the most optimistic of Spurs fans when it comes to playing Arsenal. I think there's a performance in us at the Emirates. I really do. And I think if we're going to catch them, which we should have caught them at White Hart Lane, but I think we could catch them on Wednesday night. I really do.
Paul, last question for you. Spurs have apparently put in a 1 million bid for Mason Melia, a 17-year-old St Patrick's Athletic striker. Now, Spurs are constantly trying to go after the superstars, the young players for the future. In this transfer window, what would you like to see happen from now until the 3rd of Feb, 11 p.m?
It's quite difficult. I know we were linked with Ronnie from PSG, and by the looks of it, that's not going to happen. What has surprised me a small bit is that Ange is with us 18 months now, and not one Celtic player has ever been, we'll say, linked. Now, he had good success in Glasgow with some very good players that he knew from his time in Asia. So the likes of Kyogo, Maeda, Rio Hatate, they are fantastic players. If we're looking for striker-wise, you wouldn't be going too far wrong with a Kyogo, and you'd probably get him at a very good price as a backup or as a player that could play off Solanke. I think would be a good show. It just surprised me as well, but that he's never kind of gone back that way to players that he knows that he has gotten a tune out of before and could do a job, even if it was just for an initial 6 months with a view to signing permanently in the summer. But yeah, I kind of be surprised that he hasn't gone back that way.
Paul, always a great guest. Thank you so much, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Guys, thank you very much. Take care.
Cheers, Paul. Have a great weekend. We're now going to go to David. David, hello. How are you?
Howdy.
David, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now?
Oh, well, being a Spurs fan is not easy, but I think what's kind of gotten me through over the past few years is never get super high or super down, just kind of stay in the middle. So yeah, positive results, never get overexcited. Negative results, don't get too down. But I think underlying all of that is a feeling of optimism with Ange in at the moment.
David, how long have you been a Spurs fan? Why did you choose Spurs?
Oh man, I've been a Spurs fan since I think 2010. It has to be Bale, right? Watching him tear Inter Milan apart, I was like, whoa, who is this guy? And I think I wasn't a fan. I used to be a fan of some other Premier League teams, but it didn't sit right with me to be part of the bandwagon. And observing the way Spurs did business, observing the way Spurs carried themselves, and at the time, the fact that they were a giant killer was a really attractive prospect to me. And of course, when we got Poch, there was this feeling that, hey, not only are we the occasional giant killer, And I understand, I'm a Spurs fan much more recently than in the past, so I understand we've been successful in the past, but there's also this feeling that we can kind of build and become a dynasty again. And that was extremely exciting to me. It was kind of what we're doing right now, actually, investing young and seeing what we can become. So those are the two biggest reasons why I became a Spurs fan.
David, do you think that Ange Postecoglou is going to put a trophy in the cabinet this season? Because you mentioned earlier you're behind him. What have you made of the criticism of him and his comments about "I always win in my second season"?
To be fair to Ange, he's very good with words, and I can see a level of plausible deniability in what he said, in that if you were not to win a trophy this season, I think he would say, well, I was just saying that I've won a trophy in my second season at every club that I've managed, which is fair. And if he did win, of course, we all know what he would say. I don't know. I think we just have to see. With the current squad that we have, I don't genuinely see us winning a trophy this season, even despite the Liverpool result. But if we can bring in some new recruits and get some of our important injuries back into the team, I think I'll be much more optimistic, simply because I think the best version of an Ange team is a squad that he can rotate, is a squad that is fresh, is a squad that has energy, and is a squad that can blow teams away with both his tactical philosophy and just physical freshness. And so one of the reasons why I'm big on Ange is because I believe that if he does have a full squad, we don't see what we've seen so far this season. And I'm also big on Ange because he just has that personal touch that we've not seen since the Poch era. So yeah, I'm very much Ange in.
Dave, how are you feeling about the North London derby on Wednesday? Do you think we're finally going to be in a position to get a positive result at the Emirates?
Well, the data doesn't suggest so, unfortunately for us. And again, I'm not necessarily an optimist. What I will say though is, Arsenal have a big game tomorrow against Man U, and while Arteta might try to hide the fact that it's not an important game for them or find excuses, the truth is they're going to take tomorrow's game seriously, because for all the vitriol that we get as Spurs fans, Arteta hasn't worked too much as a manager either. And so I think that he'll take tomorrow's game seriously. And similar to the Liverpool game, I think playing against Man U with a day less rest and then a midweek game against us is not the best preparation for any Premier League club. So my sense of optimism comes from the fact that we'll have an extra day of rest, the fact that we'll most likely rest some very important starters, and we'll have some of our players fresh for that game. Of course, this is the Emirates Stadium, and it's never been an easy ground for us to play. But I think that there's cause for optimism and cause for positivity, and as always, I think we should support the team.
David, last question for you. Do you think at some point in the future we'll look back at this period of all of these injuries but see the positive picture in terms of like the likes of Archie Gray, Bergvall getting game time, which they probably wouldn't have done if we would have had a full strength squad? Players even like Jed Spence grabbing opportunities. Great to see, isn't it, that they're getting game time? But I know obviously we're going through this painful time of losing all of these Premier League games, sitting 12th. But I think at some point, do you think we will look back at this period as positive with certain players and certain spells for those players?
If we keep Ange in charge, I think there's some intangibles that we don't see behind the scenes, and I can't stress enough how a lot of the optimism that I have with Ange is his ability to bring players on board. We've talked about his ability to recruit players and how the way he conveys a message allows players to feel involved, allows players to see his vision. And it's difficult for me to see us reaping the fruits of our labor if we basically remove the heart of this project. And I'm glad that you mentioned this, because that has been a huge thing that I feel has been missed by maybe not all our fans, but maybe some of our fans online. The fact that this is a rebuild. We're playing a young squad because we've decided to change directions. We're playing a squad that has been historically decimated with injuries. We're playing in a style that's a lot more daring and bold, which means that we will be open at points. But we're also daring to do. We're daring to move in a different direction, and we're daring to see what happens if we actually choose to take the prerogative in our style of play. And I think that in a few years, if we do stick with Ange, I think that the fact that we are where we are now, for example, your Liverpools and Manchester Uniteds and Man Cities also go through rebuilds periodically, but their ceiling is not as low as ours because they don't have to rely on younger players as much as we do. They can use their recruitment to buy ready-made players. I think it's just a matter of patience. I think we see out this season, we see out the injury crisis, we see out the experience building in some of our younger players. And I think as soon as next season, we're going to see an absolute monster of a squad if we keep Ange. So my response would be patience and keep Ange in charge. And I'm fully confident that we'll reap the fruits of our investments over the last season and a half.
David, some excellent points there. Thank you so much for coming on today, and hopefully you can come back on again soon. We'd love to have you, and have a great weekend.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, David.
Cheers, bye.
Right, we're now going to go to Matt. Matt, hello, how are you?
How you doing? Great to be
Oh,
here.
yeah.
First time on this wonderful chat of yours.
Great to have you here, and thank you so much for coming on. How are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now?
I'm loving it. I'll go back a long way. I've been following Spurs since the 70s and been going. First ever game was Tottenham Chelsea when we put them down in the second division. Brilliant, massive bundle on the pitch. What a game that was!
What a way to start on this channel. You can come again.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll come again. Yeah. Well, I live not far from the training grounds. I've had to put up with living around here in the 90s was an absolute nightmare. Having to put up with it every day, the texts, the messages. I just got so sick. That 6-1 game still sticks in my head. I mean, oh God, that was terrible. And then when we beat them 5-1 in the cup, you couldn't see anyone for ages. I could wander the streets around here. No one was around. It was amazing. But yeah, loving it. I mean, I think I took my daughter to the Milan game in the Champions League when the Italian fella Conte was in charge. And I couldn't believe the way he set up. And I just thought, this is not Tottenham. This is not the Tottenham I've grown up to watch. And this was awful. And I couldn't go again until I got an opportunity to go, because I gig weekends anyway, to go to the Sheffield United game. And my mate's a Celtic fan. He told me, you'll love Ange. He just keeps on attacking. He keeps on attacking. He won't give up. He'll keep on attacking. I thought, all right. So I took my daughter. And the last time I'd taken her, we hadn't won. We'd lost, I think, 3-0. Fun enough to Chelsea. And I said, look, it's going to be better. It's going to be good. He's a good manager. So right to about the 109th minute, and we're still losing 1-0, and they're time wasting. And when those 2 goals went in, my shirt was off. I was swinging it around. My daughter was looking at me going, what are you doing? I said, this is it. This is the Tottenham I love, And everyone said, we got a lot of stick in that, I think, in the press, people saying we thought we'd won the league in October. But as far as I'm concerned, we won the lottery that day. That was just a brilliant ending. So many years watching a game where we'd never kind of you'd watch it and think, oh, we're not going to score. We're not going to score. And just to score those 2 goals was euphoric. I loved it. So, yeah, I love Ange. I'm all over what he's doing. Build the squad. We'd never have seen Archie Gray. We never have seen Natasha. I was over in the Czech Republic at Christmas, actually. I thought I saw Daniel Levy at the airport. So now I know why. So there you go.
Matt, I've said on here, it's kind of put my neck on the block, saying if we do get past Liverpool, I don't care who we get in the final, we're going to win that final. Would you agree with me on that? I've just got a feeling. I think this is
don't start talking about
test.
Finals already. Come on, you know this, Craig. Come on.
When what I say on here will not impact at all. We all know it, even though.
No, you say that. You say that. I was in the toilets when in the Champions League semi-final. And I sold.
What sort of story is this, Matt? You think dodgy one?
Where he's going to go
before the watershed and all that?
I made a pact with the devil. I said, "Can we just have one moment? Just one moment. I don't care if we don't win in the fight. I just want one moment where we just do something." And then Lucas Moura scored literally 1 minute later, and I was out of the room. I was going mental. And although we lost in the final, so I did it again the other night against Liverpool in the semi. I was like, we just have one moment, we just beat these bastards, you know. And sorry for swearing, but
you need to say this every game, Matt.
Yeah, I need to go. I need to go to the final. If we get through Liverpool, I mean, they'll be gunning for us already. I've got a few Liverpool mates there. They're livid about it the other night. They think there's injustice. So I'll start throwing back about the handball in the final. About Son. A lot of people seem to forget we played them at Wembley in the same season, and they were 2-0 up. We came out 2-1, and Son got chopped down the penalty in the last minute, and it was a clear penalty. It was right in front of me, and it was just waved on. And so I always think about that. I think about Jota last year, and I say, okay, well, look, you know, it evens itself out. So look, we just got to go up there and play like we play, and you know, just see what we can. If we get through the final, I've got to go because I've seen Spurs win 6 finals, so I've got to be there. Yeah, if I'm there, we'll win.
I haven't heard many Spurs fans say that. I've seen Spurs win 6 cup finals.
Yeah, I know. I'm old enough to remember that.
Matt, who has really impressed you this season? Which players have really impressed you? And like I've said to a number of guests already, that you know it's about taking opportunities. When players do have an opportunity, it is about grabbing it. And I feel like so many players have done that so far this season.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, I think Archie Gray. I just think he's a player of the future. I mean, you look back to players and I've met Graham Roberts. I've sort of chatted to these guys. You know, Steve Perryman was the first player I ever saw play. I think Archie Gray's got that composure about him that I think he's a definite future captain for Spurs. I mean, he's obviously got it in the family, and I just think he's just been really, really impressive at the back. I think where other people have flitted in out, obviously Kulusevski. I mean, I still think he should pass the ball a bit more than he does. He tends to hold on to it a little bit too long, in my opinion. He's a great player, got fantastic skill, and you know I love it, but there are times, a couple of times, you want him to lay the ball off, and it's like that annoying player when you play in your own team. We just pass, and you're standing there waiting for the ball. And I can see, you know, particularly people like Johnson and people like that, or Werner, if they're lacking confidence and they're not getting the ball when they make the runs, it's going to happen. But yeah, no, Archie Gray's been for me, he's been the standout player. I just think we get someone like him there in the back, and we get Mickey van der Ven back. You know, I just think, I mean, Romero can do what he wants. I mean, he generally does, doesn't he? But I think if those two, I think they're a future.
Matt, the comment here from Alan Spence, the club signing. Spence, for me, I like a lot of Spurs fans. I wanted to see more of Jed Spence a long, long time ago, and I think he's proving now, isn't he, that he's not just a club signing. He's more than capable at this level. He's bulked up a bit. He's obviously got his head down, knuckled down in training, and we're really seeing what Jed Spence is capable of now. And he, like we said about Kinsky and Vicario, it shouldn't just be seen as a backup, Jed Spence. He should be almost seen as battling with Porro, or I think he's better on the right than left, but even left back in it. And I just remembered I've seen us win 6 trophies as well. I am that old too, so you're not alone. Good.
Yeah, no, Natasha, we call him now, Kinsky. We call him Natasha. That's his nickname. He was brilliant the other night. But yeah, no, Jed Spence is a fantastic player. He was going to come on to. He's been great, the chances he's got. But you do wonder what goes on behind the scenes with these players and why they're not favoured by certain managers. Is it something in there actually? Because when they've been given the chance because of the injuries, you can see the way that the free-flowing players, the confidence in them. And that's what that rubs off on other people. And I think you need more players like that are not nervous on the ball. And I think if you have that, it spreads the confidence. So then the flair players can do their own. Because, players will sort of dip in and out of form. You'll see that with Son, you'll see with everyone. But they've got the class. Class is permanent. Form is temporary. It's kind of the way it is. But when you have people who are composed on the ball, you've always got that opportunity for those players to either miss the chance or go again. I still think, and I still stick by this, we haven't seen the best of Werner. I still think that there is a player in there. He just needs the confidence. He needs to be fed the ball. He needs to be given that confidence. And I think he'll surprise a few people. You're shaking your head, Chris, I know. But I'm the same as you. I've got Chelsea fans who tell me, like, oh, my God, he's a cart horse. But,
I've been there, Matt. I've been hoping and wishing that we're seeing a lot more from him, Matt. Because of great guests like you on this channel, we are running really, really over. So I apologise to everyone sitting in the green room. I tell you, Matt, you must have your fan club in the chat as well, because people are already calling for you to be a channel regular on here. People are actually loving your input. You said about gigging. Tell us about your band.
Yeah, I was thinking about Ransom. We play everywhere. We play 98 gigs a year. We're fighting for pub bands all around the world, and we go on stage at big festivals like Planet Rockstock, and we go, we're just a fucking pub band, and we do that. And we're playing tonight in Addleston. We've got a new single out called Hell Fuck Yeah. Anyone out there wants to download that? It's a sort of finger in the air to the radio stations that are not playing us. And you know, I'm a Spurs fan, die hard. You know, I'll sing it every time I go up the lane or go away. I've visited just about every Premiership team in the country anyway, but I usually go in incognito with my hair tied up because if I get recognised, I have to start signing autographs and breasts and things, and it's a bit embarrassing. You know.
Sounds like we need a collab with you and James Black. To be honest, that would be good.
Yeah, he's good. I like him. He's a good lad. But yeah, I love your show. I love what you guys do. And I was determined to come on. I love listening to you at night when I come in. I'll sit down and pour myself a bottle after a gig, and I'll sit and watch what you've been chatting about, and I really enjoy it. And you do a brilliant thing for the club, Chris. You know, Jess sends her love, by the way. Jess is actually says to say hi. But I love you guys. So keep doing what you do, and hello to everyone in the chat, and we'll go from there.
Matt, thank you so much. We'd love to have you on again very soon. So we'll be in touch.
Definitely, mate. Take care. All the best, everyone.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Cheers. Wow, we've had some great guests on this channel over the last couple of months. We're now going to go to Lewis. Lewis, how are you?
Yes, very well. How are you, Chris? You
All
okay?
very good. Yes. Yeah. How are you feeling about tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, very confident. I think. Well, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but yeah, I think we should do the job tomorrow on paper. But you know, that's not how it normally pans out. But no, I'm not worried, so to speak.
Are you thinking? You sound very much similar to what I said earlier, Lewis. That you know you're not actually that bothered about this game. You think it should be a pretty standard win for Spurs then.
Yeah. I mean, I think it should be. I mean, normally these are sort of games where you say you bring the youngsters in. Well, we've been bringing the youngsters in the Premier League games, so you know. And I mean, I think a lot of guests has brought on this fact that we've been in a situation where we've had to bring in a lot of these young players. And they've all done a job. You know, when you look even under the times we were flying under Pochettino, you went to the Europa League and we play these players and you think, well, you've got to turn up for this game. And they didn't. Whereas, you know, the comparison this season, these guys have been chucked in right at the deep end and they've done a job. And you can't argue with that. You know, it's been amazing to watch these youngsters really taking the chances. And being a Spurs fan, that's what you want. You know, these people that are knocking on the door, they're given a chance, they take it, you know, and you can't ask for more than that.
I think that's right, actually, because Ange said something that really resonated with me. He said, because a reporter in his press conference asked him about, you know, the game tomorrow and you know, your multi-million-pound players and all that. He gave a really good answer, I thought, where he said, no, these lads, some of them have come from this sort of club and the training ground and the pitch and the changing rooms really, and some from a lot worse. And I think we've all been there. We've all played on and changed in. I changed in a shed that doubled up as a changing room once. So and these players, all right, they're used to it now. But you know, this will be quite nostalgic for a lot of them. Actually, do you think going back to a ground like that? And you know, the likes of the Richarlisons that come from areas of Brazil which have no money and abject poverty, you know, they're going to respect it, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. You know, they're going to be used to that, and I think that's the thing. You know, a lot of these young players, they're used to playing in these environments. Whereas they get to a superstar level, they're kind of like, well, I'm above all this, you know. And you can't, you know, it's going to be a tough game. I mean, Tamworth are going to be up for it, and it's going to be cold showers and all that malarkey. They're going to play all that, you know, but. You know, I'm very confident because, like I say, a lot of these young players have been playing Premier League games. Let's not forget Premier League games. You know, at 18 years old. That's, you know, how many other players have you seen in the past that have turned up for a Premier League game at 18 years old and been able to perform at that level? It's not easy. It really isn't. And they're making it look easy. Like Archie Gray makes it look like he's been doing it forever. He's 18 years old. Amazing, absolutely amazing.
Lewis, talking about Tamworth Ground, they've actually been doing up the away dressing room, painting it blue and white for Tottenham, making us feel a little bit more welcome. And you see the radiator here on screen to try and make the players a little bit warmer in the changing rooms. But last question for you on Ange Postecoglou. How are you feeling about him? How would you rate him out of 10 for his time at Spurs so far? Because it's fair to say he's had a lot of criticism from a lot of Spurs fans this season. Has that been fair?
yes and no. I think you have to look at the situation. I mean, look at the whole situation. Any manager went through the amount of injuries we've got would struggle. You know, if you've got Ange, I was thinking about this earlier today. If you put Ange into like a Liverpool team or a Man City team that's already kind of there, just needs tweaking a little bit, he'd be flying. But he's had to go up against so much that I don't think a lot of the criticism, he's made mistakes here and there, but what manager don't? And he's done all right with what he's got. You know, and that's what you've got to look at. So the people go, oh, get Ange out and all this sort. And I've seen a lot of that from Spurs fans, by the way.
Yeah.
And I just think, well, you've got to take into consideration the amount of injuries. You know, it's not an excuse. It's what's happened, you know. And I think he's dealt with best what he's been given. And I like previous guest was saying, a lot of these young players are getting exposure they wouldn't normally get. So they're getting thrown right in the deep end. So what's going to happen in 2-3 years' time? They've got all that experience of dealing with the bad patches. I mean, they always say you don't learn from things you get right, you learn from things you get wrong. So they're getting thrown into these situations where it's all going wrong and they're dealing with it. And I think that's going to build them massively as players. These players don't normally get that exposure till they're like 23, 24, 18-year-olds thrown straight in and they're doing a job. And I'd love to see that personally as a Spurs fan. Love it.
Yeah, well said. Lewis, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much for coming on and look forward to speaking to you again soon.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Enjoyed that. Take care.
Cheers, Lewis. Mate. Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers, mate.
We're now going to go to Hugh. Hugh, how are you?
Very good. Good afternoon, chaps. How are we?
All good. Great to have you on, Hugh. How are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now? Because, of course, we do travel up to Anfield in 4 weeks' time. We know that's going to be a tough game. We know it's going to be a tough game at Arsenal on Wednesday. But, of course, we face Tamworth first. How are you feeling ahead of all of these games?
Yeah, it's been a difficult period for us, hasn't it? And as a lot of people are saying, you know, there's a lot of pressure on poor old Andrew. Not great league form, let's be honest about it. But the cup, you know, I'm old enough to know that we're a big cup side. Tomorrow's the third round of the cup. I'm old enough to remember Newcastle, Hereford, all those years ago with the Ronnie Radford wonder goal that, you know, launched John Watson's career. And you know, anything could happen. We struggled against Newport County a couple of years ago, if I remember rightly, and I think it was Harry Kane saved us towards the end. And you know, we're going to win tomorrow. It's going to be a fantastic day for Tamworth, but Spurs are going to be good enough, and you know, we'll show them the respect. And I'm sure there'll be a few big players in that side as well as a few of the youngsters, and it gives us a great opportunity to rest. You know, Porro, Solanke, Sonny, give them a rest ready for Wednesday. And I'm looking forward to seeing hopefully Mikey Moore's back. I'm not quite sure where we are with Mikey now, but
yeah, he's back. It's funny you should mention that Newport game, Hugh. I remember being in the away end and a simple ball come out to Wan Foyth, and it took a little bit of a there was a bump in the grass, and as the ball went over his foot and then went out for a throw in, and everyone was like, "Oh my god!" But that of course is the joy of the FA Cup. But how are you feeling about this 3G pitch? Because Spurs are not going to be used to playing on a 3G pitch. Although Ange confirmed that they are going to be training today on a 3G pitch.
Yeah. No, it's going to be different. I mean, they're going to be playing in 3,000. I think they said the full capacity of 3,500 or something. And it's going to be, you know, we've got about 50 Spurs fans turning up and something like that. So, you know, they're going to be, well, they'll be loud as they always are, but it's not straightforward. It's the third, and the Tamworth players, this is the biggest game of their life. You've got to remember that.
Yeah.
And they're going to be putting in, I think, Craig, you mentioned, let's hope we're injury free, because I have absolutely no doubt there's going to be a few high, you know, flying tackles. They are not going to want Spurs players to, you know, go around, and there's going to be some, you know, they're going to, studs and all are going to be flying tomorrow, I think. So we're just hope we come out of it without any more injuries. And then they've got this. I always go back to Stoke. Is it Delap? It's the Ipswich guy's father, I think, was the long throw specialist, wasn't he? And you know, that's supposed to be one of their tactics tomorrow. And you know, I have to say, I'm glad Vicario's not in goal for that. Because I think that could have been a right calamity. It could have been a real embarrassment, because he's, crosses are not his favourite, are they, really? And I think that could have been an interesting one in the penalty area. So, but no, we'll, as everybody said, let's hope by half time it's 3-0 and we can relax a little bit. And give some of the bigger players some time out, and see who else turns up for that side. So that's we'll get through that, but it's not it's not going to be double figures or anything like that. It's not going to be a cricket score for certain. And then good luck to Tamworth. Let's hope they have a great day out, but are on the receiving end of a good beating. So yeah. And then, of course, as you say, we've got a North London derby on Wednesday to look forward to. Form goes out the window those games, doesn't matter where either of us are. You forget form for North London derby. I'm pleased I haven't got Saka, because he's the guy that's always worries me, and the way they play, and the fact that we play so high with those wing backs, and he's exploited that. Not so much on the left hand side with Martinelli. So I'm glad he's not playing. I think there's a great chance for us to get a result there. They've got a tougher game tomorrow, home to Man United as well. So they're probably going to put up a more stronger side than we've got. So we'll be a bit fresher with a bit of luck. And they're not, they're not great at the moment. They're not flying high. So I think we've got an opportunity there. And in a couple of weeks, why not? The last couple of games we played there, I think it's whether it was the Moore one where we was it 3-3 and then they won 4-3 in about the ninth, late on, and we've had some sort of close games up there, and I think we showed on Wednesday that when it comes down to it, we can play brilliant. And if we put in that performance and the performance we had against Man City away in the league, we can get a result at Liverpool, and then we go on to win that cup. I just hope we don't play Arsenal, because the thought of losing to Arsenal in a cup final, I just can't cope with that. So what
about the thought of winning against Arsenal in a cup final, like you?
Yeah, that would be unbelievable. Yeah. So, but I mean, we've had a couple of semi-finals, haven't we? League Cup, and then I was at the Spurs Arsenal. So second leg where we beat them 5-1 with Lennon scoring and all sorts of things. So, but that would be great, wouldn't it? Go to Wembley and beat Arsenal 5-1 at Wembley. I'll settle for that. Yeah, I'll settle for that.
Hugh, last question for you. Give us a score prediction for tomorrow and for Wednesday.
I think tomorrow 4-0 tomorrow. It'd be interesting. Looking forward to seeing Kinsky again, keep another clean sheet.
Yeah.
That'd be good. And on 2-1 to Spurs on Wednesday. How about that?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Take that.
We'll settle for that. Yeah, that's fantastic. So it'd be good.
Hugh, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much. Look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Good luck. Great to listen to you. Take care.
Cheers. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Hugh. Have a great weekend. We're now going to go to Gary Maloney. Gary.
Oh, no, not Gary. Oh, no.
How are you, Gary?
They're on their way to Wembley.
Here we go.
How are we doing, lads?
Are we on our way to Wembley, Gary?
I think we are, mate. I think it's written in the stars. We will be in the final with Newcastle. And I think out of the two, that would be the better team to play. I mean, listen, I mentioned this the other day. I love the fact that our Sky Sports, TalkSport, go on about how Tottenham haven't won a trophy in 17 years. And I think Newcastle was in the 1950s. It's so odd, isn't it? It's they're obsessed with us, isn't they?
I feel like you and Craig need to calm down a little bit, though. That second leg is going to be very, very difficult.
Chris, you know me, mate, with my score predictions. The same way I said we'd turn Liverpool over, I knew we would. And let you mark my words. I think when we go up to Anfield, it's going to be a messy game, but I think we walk away there with a draw, and then we go through to the final. I really, really do, generally. I think, going on to Tamworth, I think I've heard a lot of people saying 5-0, 6-0, 7. It's not going to be anything like that. That is going to be a very nervy. I will go for a clean sheet because our goalkeeper looks good. I mean, touching on him quickly, he was the difference in that Liverpool game as opposed to the game where, we got hammered 6-3, because I think 2, if not 3 of the goals that we conceded were all Fraser Foster's fault. And what a difference when you put a keeper in with confidence. It then breeds confidence to the defence, the midfield, right the way through the stadium, and even into the fans. Chris, how more relaxed were the fans after you chipped him in the first few minutes of that? It was unreal, wasn't it? Honestly,
it's good. Yeah. It was good.
It was really good. But no, I'm not getting too carried away. But I do think we'll get something at Anfield. What I will say, when I left the stadium, I was just a little bit annoyed we didn't get a second or a third. I just felt if we'd have got a second or a third, but there's a lot of ways of looking at that. You know, we could have obviously got up to Anfield too confident if we'd had a 2 or 3 goal lead. On another day, we may not have scored and it could have ended 0-0. So I think you weigh it up. I think, you know, I know Liverpool have been playing the victims with a second yellow, all that nonsense, but they're always going to do that, like I tell you, with the football. Ultimately, we're a better team, we won. And I think we can, at best, get a draw at Anfield. I looked at the stats. I think in 30 games, we've only won 1, drawn 8, and lost 20-something. So it doesn't look good. But, you know, it's the same team that got hammered against them only a week or 2 ago. And then we bossed that game. So we can do it. We can do it, you know? So I'm not going to get too excited. I have had my sweets and caffeine. And I'm just in the... hang on. I'm just in the gym car park.
We can tell.
In the car, trying to get myself hyped up. So let me just put this phone. I'm balancing it on the steering wheel like what you do, Chris. There we go.
What are you up to today, Gary?
I am. I'm going to the gym. I'm just about to go. I just joined a new gym last week, so I'm a David Lloyd member now. It's very posh. So I'm going to go in there. I'm going to have a full weight session. Then I'm going to have a spa, steam sauna. Then I'm going to get home, get changed, and then I am working in Essex tonight. I think I'm up near you guys. I'm sort of Essex way. I think I'm in Brentwood doing a birthday tonight. So
it's near me.
I love it. Our posh David Lloyd guests, you know, they're enjoying their day, and then Gary walks in, starts shouting about Tottenham.
Yeah, the looks I get when I'm in the sauna and I'm talking Tottenham at full blast. I don't think they're used to it here, you know.
Gary, the FA Cup. I know you love the FA Cup. We spoke about it loads over the years, and you know, when we played Marine, that was such a good atmosphere for me, and it's such a shame. In the town, I mean, in the buzzing scenes where the coach turned up, I remember seeing the picture of that. It was just such a shame that there wasn't any crowd allowed. But the magic of the cup, seeing people filming Gareth Bale and taking pictures of him from their bedroom window, you know, it was just brilliant to see. And then I can imagine tonight in the pubs around Tamworth, there's going to be people sitting in there buzzing about the game tomorrow, having a drink and discussing, you know, can we have a shock, you know, against Spurs? Why do you think? First, 2 questions here. Why do you think that Spurs haven't been successful in the FA Cup since 1991? Because obviously in the 80s, I know you're only 38, but you will remember the 80s. So hold
on. You got to put a little bit of background story on this. We've known Gary for years, and all the time we've known Gary, he's been 38, and he's still 38. So that's the story on that one.
Doesn't age, he's like Peter Pan. So obviously we got to 4 finals, 3 finals, FA Cup finals in the 80s, won 2 of them. And then the victory in 91 was our last victory some 34 years ago. Why is that, do you think?
We did 81, 82, lost in 87 and won 91. Is that right?
That's right, yeah.
No other ones.
Not FA, no. So
since 81,
why is that? Why haven't we won the FA Cup since 91?
I think for a number of reasons. I think sometimes we've been unlucky. You know, we've not always got the easiest teams that we've been drawn. And I think it's just kind of a psychological thing with Tottenham, Craig. And I think, you know, not just the FA Cup finals, you know, it's been the Champions League, it's been the Carabao. It's just a mentality thing. But I know it's early days, but I really felt like there was a confidence and a mentality shift when we had our new goalkeeper in on Wednesday. But what I found so bizarre about that is he had 1 training session, gets thrown in the deep end, but yet he commanded his box and the team and almost relaxed everyone, including the fans in the stadium. And I think sometimes as a club and as a team, you just need that one player that can make a difference. But who would have thought it would be a young keeper like him? It's, you know, I felt a bit bad for Austin, really. I'm not, you know, not fussed about Fraser Forster. That's said about him about, but I felt quite bad for Austin. But you would have to say, me personally, I feel the difference in that game and moving forward now was our goalkeeper. But going back to your question, I just think we've been a little bit unlucky, Craig. If we weren't getting to finals or semi-finals, I'd be a lot more frustrated. But we have got to a lot of finals and semi-finals. We've just been a little bit unlucky. You know, we could talk about Mourinho being sacked the week before. We could talk about the handball in the first minute of the Champions League. You know, Man City, you know, I think Ryan Mason went in charge. He started his mate, Harry Winks. Bell didn't come on until late in the second half. There's a lot of factors, but ultimately, we've not turned up and we've not scored any goals. And regardless of, you know, a mentality shift or how good the other team is, you've got to score goals. It's just as simple as that. We're always going to concede goals as a club. I don't think we're ever going to go a period where we go, 10 games of clean sheets, even with a great goalkeeper like we have now. There's always going to be room for, goals, mistakes, errors, or just sometimes it's just great forward play and it's just a great goal. It happens. But I really do feel it's just a matter of time now. Honestly, we've come so close, and I do really feel we're getting closer and closer, and I am feeling confident. I really, really am. I just feel after that display on Wednesday, I do feel we will go up to Anfield, get something, and we will be in the final. And out of the two, you'd rather want to play Newcastle than Arsenal, and Arsenal are gone. I don't care what anyone says, they're gone. I'm probably more nervous about Tamworth tomorrow than what I am Newcastle playing Arsenal at St James's Park. I think that's a formality, and they'll easily win. They've got a great record against Arsenal anyway. I think tomorrow will be a difficult game. There won't be a goal for at least half hour, maybe longer. There'll be no goals. And matey, I watched all your videos you posted up, Chris, just quickly. I watched the dressing room backstage and stuff. I also watched, I don't know his name, but he's got some throwing on him. So all those things are going to be difficult for us. And, we're always going to start getting like very nervous because just quickly, the difference is Wednesday, we almost went into the game as an underdog, right? Tomorrow we go into the game as the favourites, and that puts us under pressure. Almost when Tottenham are the underdog, when we go up to the Etihad, it becomes easy, right? And when we're expected to win, that's when it's difficult. Son's going to take too many touches. We're going to miss a couple of early on goals. The fans are going to be and the commentary and the commentators. And what's it on? Is it on ITV or BBC One?
ITV, I think.
ITV are going to be all over Tamworth because they hate Tottenham anyway. So every throw-in that they do or pass, they'll be saying how amazing it was and how better it is than Tottenham. But ultimately, we will get a win. But lads, honestly, it's going to be maybe 2 or 3-0 max. No more.
That's exactly what I was going to ask, Gary. Last question. Score predictions. You're going to go 2 or 3-0?
2 or 3-0, no more than that. I will go for a clean sheet. I'll go for a clean sheet because of our keeper. If he wasn't in goal, I would probably say we'd concede, but I think we will keep a clean sheet, and it'd be 2 or 3-0. The Arsenal game, Chris, I mean, the viewers ain't going to like this, but I think the best we can get is a draw, but I think we may lose that one. I think we may. It's my gut feeling, and I never go against it.
This chat was going all so well. Gary, have a great day, Gary.
You can't have everything, mate. What's the league to us now? We don't care. We're getting to the final and we're going to win it. We'll take that, won't we?
Well, as long as we're in the 4th round, and then we can kind of rest players and manage the game well ahead of that Arsenal game, because, of course, we need absolutely everything to go to the Emirates because, as we've all said, as so many guests on this episode have said already about, going to places like the Emirates, really struggling year after year. We've got to change that at some point.
When did we last win there, Chris? Was it the 3-2 in the old stadium? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was the 3-2. No, sorry, it was 3-2. We've only won once there in the Premier League, and that was the 3-2 when we were 2-0 down. Kabul scored.
What year was that?
2010.
God, blimey, 15 years.
And then of course we've won once there in the League Cup, which that Dele Alli won the goal. Yeah,
look, it's not superb. It's not impossible, but one thing about this podcast, I always say it from the heart, and I'll give my honest opinion. I don't think we can win that game against Arsenal, but I hope I'm wrong.
Gary, have a great weekend. We'll speak to you soon.
And you lads, take it easy. Craig will come for a cup of tea later. I want another Spurs cup ready, yeah?
See you later, mate.
He's not joking
Spurs.
either.
Love it.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
You're going to have Gary at your house later. You know that.
I'll be out. So
whether you like it or not, he'll be there. We're now going to go to Stuart. Stuart, how are you?
Hello, mate. Nearly caught me out there. Yeah, I'm all good, thanks. We're all around Craig's for tea then, are we?
Yes, it. I tell you, this is like the doctor's surgery. It's like we're running so behind because so many great guests have been on today. But how are you feeling right now?
Yeah, I'm all right. It's a bit mixed, isn't it? I mean, the injuries we've had, and stupid suspensions. So yeah, it's been difficult. Listening to Ange talking about the growth in some of the younger players, I think you can see that's really coming through in the likes of Bergvall and Spence and what have you. So yeah, a bit of a curate's egg, and it is good in parts.
Who's impressed you the most this season, would you say?
Kulu has been amazing, but I think he's run out of steam. I mean, he properly needs a rest. And if Ange plays him at the weekend, I'm driving to Tamworth and giving him a slap because He needs a rest. Spence, lovely, isn't it? I mean, this redemption story is, as it is, brilliant. I think he's just getting better and better, Spence. We always knew we had a player until, that twat Conte came in with club signing crap, We all saw the player he was at Forest. He's getting better and better. And I think the Bergvall as well. I mean, he's really getting into his stride in the last couple of games. I think it's taken him a while. I think Ali Gold was saying that when he went over to Sweden and spoke to their coaches, they say, look, it'll take about 6 months and then you'll really see the player. Well, I think that's the case. I think we're beginning to see him now. So to Andrew's points in the pressers recently, where there's seeing growth, I think you can see the growth now. I think there's some really, really good players. Archie Gray, are you having a laugh? I mean, 18-year-old playing out of position at a centre-back against Liverpool, against Newcastle, etc., etc. And would you believe, I sit in the 1882 bit, would you believe 2 rows behind me, there was this fella on Saturday, Wednesday, and he's coating off Archie Gray and he's going, I've played at a high level, he's not good enough for this club. And I'm looking at him thinking, you're a high-level moron, mate. That fella's outstanding.
There are a lot of very different opinions, though, aren't there, on Spurs?
You get them mostly, mate, because social media, you get all the morons with a keyboard, don't you? But generally speaking, I think most right-thinking Spurs fans can see a lot of potential in this side. And to your question, Craig, we're just frustrated that we need some here and now players. I think I saw in the comments there, Kate, someone saying that she's spot on.
With regards to the transfer window, what must we do as an absolute must in the next 3 weeks to really back Ange Postecoglou? Because, we've seen injuries last season. We've seen so many injuries this season. He's come out and said a number of occasions, we need help. We need players. What must we do as an absolute minimum in this window?
Get the hell on with it for a start. I mean, we've had, Langer and what's his name, Scott Munn there. And then what we're seeing, I'm pretty sure, is Levy, putting his. Who believed Kolumawani was going to come? Who believed that Levy's going to get that across? No way. Levy would screw that up all day long, and it looks like he has. He's going to go Juve. I don't know why we didn't have 2-3 players ready to go 2nd of January. Kinsky. Why could we not have got that sorted sooner? We need players now. We've got 10 players out, or we've had 10 players out.
In fairness, though, the Kinsky deal was meant to be done this coming summer,
I know.
and they've done it quicker. So fair play to them for getting that done. And we don't know who.
That discussion in November, December, mate. I mean, this isn't like on New Year's Day they thought, oh, here's a good idea.
Who do you want to see come in this window then, and what positions?
Well, I mean, in terms of positions, I'm aching for a left back. We've got Spence playing there. He's playing outstanding. I want Spence to be the other right back to give Porro a bit of a rest as well. So I think that then allows Porro to get the rest he needs, and then we'll start seeing the real Porro back. I think we need another attacker. Sonny, he's knackered, bless him. We've played him pretty much every minute for the 10 years he's been here.
Yeah.
And Korea as well. He flies back and forth, and I've done one flight to Southeast Asia, and it knackered me, know, and that was like 10 years ago. And he's doing it, I don't know how often. He's flying there, coming back 2 days later, he's on the pitch in a high class Prem game. I don't know how he does it. The man's a machine.
Because I think that a lot of fans think that footballers are robots and they are machines, and they just have to perform every single second when they go out on the pitch. And I completely agree with you. I've been to the likes of Australia, South Korea, etc. And I tell you what, you are absolutely exhausted for days. I know we are not professional footballers, but we're all human beings, and it all takes toll on all of us. And I tell you what, I think that's very well said about Son, because I just don't get the disrespect for for what he's done at the football club. A great player. I feel like he's got so much more in the locker, and I just don't get all of the disrespect for him. Last question for you. Score prediction for the Tamworth game, and how you feeling ahead of this one?
Yeah, 5-0. I know one of your guests earlier, about 3 hours ago, said 5-0, so I'm going straight in there, 5-0. No, I think that Tamworth, I'm not worried about the pitch. I mean, the fitness of the players will shine through. The quality of the players will shine through. I think he'll play a mixed side. You know, I think Lancashire play up front. He's got to give Dom a bit of a rest. I think Madders will come in and Kulu will be on the bench, which I think is the right thing. And he'll probably play. He's already said he's going to play Mikey Moore for some time. So I think it'd be a bit of a mixed team. And then he's got choices with players on the bench that either he can stick more kids on if you're 5-0, or if it's, you know, looking a bit stupid at 2-1 or 3-2 or something daft, then he can put, you know, Kulu on and whoever he's stuck on the bench. So I'm not worried about it. My biggest worry is just don't get injured. Whoever it is, just don't get injured.
Just a quick yes or no. Is 2025 the year that Spurs are going to lift the FA Cup?
You're asking me for a yes or no. Do you know me, Chris?
This is why we're running so late.
I know, I'm trying to work you up by talking fast here. Yeah, you're on for a 4-hour pod. Yes.
Yes. Love it. Love it. Love the positivity.
And you know what? I'm going to go right out there and say we could do a double. League Cup, Europa Cup.
I think people have said that already on the chat, and I'm trying to keep everyone calm. That is saying, don't get carried away. One game at a time.
Mate, I've got me accommodation booked for the final for the Europa, so they've got to get there, right?
I know a few people who have got flights booked and accommodation booked. I haven't yet, so yeah, I'm not feeling that confident yet. Let's wait and see.
Got a sofa in the Airbnb.
I might have to take you up on that. It might be good. Yeah. Thank you so much, and have a great weekend.
All right,
speak soon.
You take care. See you. Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
I tell you, Craig, we know a lot of people that have booked flights for that. For Bilbao. It's going to be an interesting one. That one. We're now going to go to Ronnie. Ronnie, how are you?
Hello. Very good, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfectly well. Great to have you on. How are you feeling right now? Because, of course, lots of positives to take from Wednesday. Of course, we've got the Tamworth game tomorrow. We've got Arsenal coming up on Wednesday. Of course, we've got to get back to winning ways in the Premier League, climb up that Premier League table. How are you feeling overall, when you look back at the season so far?
I think it was a season that was supposed to be sort of more progression from the last one, but it sort of had to take back because of the injuries. Wednesday was unreal. I think that's the best game we've had in so long. I know City 4-0, but in terms of what it means for us, it means so much. I went to the game, I was in the South Stand, watched Solanke. I was in the corner where Solanke scored, annoyingly disallowed, but yeah, it was unbelievable. The limbs were ridiculous.
Ronnie, what have you made of James Maddison this season? Well, we haven't really spoke about him much so far. What do you expect more from him, or do you think it's a confidence thing, or what? Because we know what James Maddison can produce.
I think what Andrew's done with Maddison, I like a lot. I think he's played with him a lot delicately this season. He's given him the right amount of minutes, I think, because you look at his output for what minutes he's had, it's been unbelievable. He's been getting goals and assists all over the place when he's been on the pitch, and his impact has been a lot better, and he's not been injured. And I think that's more key than him getting injured again, because if he gets injured again, I don't think you're going to see the same Maddison the next time, in my opinion.
Do you think he should be starting tomorrow, shouldn't he?
And
making an impact.
Yeah, he should be playing because he didn't play against Liverpool. But in my opinion, I don't think we should be playing. Any first team player should not be playing in that game tomorrow, in my opinion, because on the pitch as well, on 3G you can't trust it, and I can't see another injury. We've had it over 10 this season. It's a joke.
Ronnie, surely though, if you're a Tamworth fan or you live in Tamworth, you want to be seeing the Tottenham Hotspur first team, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah. But I'm not a Tamworth fan. So.
Ronnie, what means more to you, league position? Because of course we know that league position to the football club itself is very, very important, trying to get in those European spots. And it's interesting. I always ask the younger fans this question about what's more important: top four, European spot, or a trophy. Because when you think back to how long it's been since we've won a trophy, 2008, which is an unbelievable, ridiculous stat for a club like Spurs. When you think back of all the great players that we've had that have come and gone, the great managers that we've had come and gone, including win now managers, Conte, Jose Mourinho. When someone like Jose Mourinho come through the door, I thought finally we're now going to lift a trophy, because he wins everywhere, which of course, Tottenham, the only club that he's not won a trophy. What means more to you? Because Spurs are sitting in 12th at the moment in the Premier League. We have gone far in the League Cup. Of course, we've got that second leg against Liverpool, which is going to be a very difficult game. We start the FA Cup run. We're going well in the Europa League. What means more to you? Cups, winning a cup, or league position?
I think right now, it's the cup, because the way the season's gone, it's going to be so hard to challenge for Champions League, because we're 11 points off fourth. I think fifth will get it this season because how the club coefficient rankings work. Fifth should be a Champions League spot this year, but I think this year we've got to focus on the League Cup. It's like we're 2 games away from a trophy. If you think about it, we're 2 games away. When's the last time we said that? It's been so long since you've said that. Champions League final was the last time. No, League Cup, City.
League Cup 21, yeah.
Yeah. You don't get those opportunities often. Europa League, I'm not as optimistic as a lot of people, because the way the Champions League is going to work this season, you're going to see so many good teams drop from it. We're not going to be the favourites by come outside the league phase. But yeah, 12th, not great, but
you're totally behind Ange and what he's trying to do.
Absolutely, I think Ange is the one. I think he's the one to get us a trophy finally, in my opinion. We can't go around that carousel again, that cycle of just having the 2-season syndrome thing, whatever we've got right now. It's a nightmare. I mean, we've got Jose Mourinho coming out saying it's a Mr. Levy club. It can't continue, the constant sackings, and the mentality shift from Conte to Mourinho to Postecoglou. I think it's so much better. The attacking football, free flowing play. The only problem I've got with it is the over intensity of it, because that is what's causing the injuries. I think we need more players to keep up with the Ange Postecoglou football, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Ronnie, score prediction for tomorrow and score prediction for Wednesday.
I think Tamworth 4-1. I think they'll get a goal. I think they'll get a goal early, because you need Tamworth to celebrate something. They need to be happy about something. So,
no, we don't.
We don't, but it will happen. It will just happen. It'll be either that or we win 1-0 and they should have won. It would be something like that. Wednesday is so difficult away at the Emirates. It's so difficult, but I think it's going to be a draw. And that, for us at Emirates, it somehow feels like a win whenever that happens. I mean, the 2-2 last year was brilliant. I thought we should have won that one. But yeah, hopefully we win.
Ronnie, you've been a great guest. We would love to have you back one day. So please do get in touch again and come back and see us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Cheers, Ronnie.
Will do.
We're now going to go to Jim. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing good at the moment. Hi, Craig. Hi, Chris. And yeah, I'm feeling cautiously optimistic about the rest of the season. The way I see it, all we got to do is get some people back healthy, and we can beat pretty much any team in the league, and certainly any team in the Europa League as well. So I'm cautiously optimistic, but one thing is we got to get some people back healthy, and then we can get past, we can go into a place like Arsenal and beat them there if we got everyone healthy.
Jim, thank you so much for getting involved in our Spurs Around the World videos week in, week out. You're one of our regulars on there, so thank you so much for all of your input. On the latest edition, you mentioned about the younger players taking their opportunities and about the transfer windows of Spurs going out and actively trying to sign players for the future. And we've already spoken on the show already with a number of guests about the young players taking opportunities, the likes of Archie Gray, Bergvall. They probably wouldn't have had half as much of game time this season if all of the other players had been fit and available. You know, Archie Gray has been playing everywhere across the pitch and fitting in extremely well, I might add. How impressed have you been with the recruitment, and what are your expectations of this January transfer window? What does Spurs need to do to really push on to help Ange this season?
Yeah, I think the players we've signed under Ange have been all great signings. I mean, Bergvall, that's a great signing. Great, that's a great signing. You know, everyone says, oh, he's an 18-year-old. It's sort of like, yeah, he's got an 18-year-old body, but Archie Gray has like generations of football wisdom in his head. Can you imagine what it would be like growing up in that household and have your dad and your grandfather and uncle all pointing out all the things that other players are doing wrong or doing right? I mean, he is one of the best signings we've had in a while, and I'm very, very pleased with that. I would like to see us go out and get someone who can fill in at center back and left back. I would like to see us get someone who can help rest people on the forward line. Jonathan David is still out there, and he's still out of contract at the end of the season, so he should be available. I would love to see us go out and get him because I've seen Jonathan David play for Team Canada. I think he scored against, was it Argentina or something like that in the Copa America? He's a talented player, and he should be available, and so that's what I'd like to see.
Jim, just putting the excitement of the FA Cup and the North London Derby aside, but obviously if you're the other side of the pond, how is it feeling over there at the moment? I know we've got a while to go yet, but for the World Cup coming up over there, is there a buzz around the place that you're going to be hosting?
That's the funny thing about America. There's millions and millions of soccer fans, but the culture overall is still somewhat, not for me. We're Americans here. We play real football and all that nonsense there. So among soccer fans, yeah, there's a buzz. I will, if I want to go to one of the games, I'll probably have to go to like either New York or Chicago or something because there's none scheduled in Ohio, I don't think. But I'm excited about it, and I think with Poch coaching the U.S. team, I think they've got a good chance to go further than they've gone before. So just have to all keep our fingers crossed over here.
I know I probably shouldn't ask this question about Pochettino, but what is the feeling about Pochettino taking over that job, Jim?
Well, he's probably the best coach we've had for the U.S. men's national team ever. Klinsmann was okay, but he never seemed to quite deliver results. And everyone we've had since Klinsmann has been kind of but Poch, U.S. men's team fans are excited about the possibilities because they can see that he's already making some changes in how the way the team is playing, and he's been getting a look at both the MLS players and the players who play in Europe, and so there's a lot of optimism in that regard.
And as far as like the World Cup and everything, I think the final's in LA, isn't it? I think, is that right?
I don't remember. Sorry.
I think it's it's either LA or New York. Somebody will probably correct me in the comments, but it's going to be interesting because it's obviously split between Mexico, USA, and Canada, and I'm sure we'll do a pod on it nearer the time. And I know we're here to talk about FA Cup, but it does fascinate me when the World Cup goes to countries like America, where it's not the number one sport, and what it can do for the MLS over there as well. If it's successful, which I'm sure it will be.
Yeah, actually, MLS is now one of the biggest, richest soccer leagues in the world now. It's like second only to the Big Five in Europe, I think. So it has grown tremendously. And my cousin actually plays for the Columbus Crew in MLS. So I try to follow him, although he's a backup goaltender, so he doesn't get to play very much, if at all, right now. But
Jim, you're always a great guest. Thank you so much for coming back, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon.
I look forward to it too. Come on, you Spurs.
Cheers, Jim. Come on, you Spurs. Have a great weekend. Cheers, Jim. Yep. We're now going to go to Wes in Atlanta. Wes, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys, Chris? Hey, Craig.
Hi, Wes.
Great to have you here again, Wes. Wes, how are you feeling? Because lots of positivity from Wednesday night. Of course, we've got the FA Cup game on Sunday. Let's hope that Spurs can progress far again in another cup competition this season. In terms of team selection for the Tamworth game, what would you like to see? Because, you know, so many of us want to see the likes of Kulusevski, Solanke, Pedro Porro rested. It'd be nice to see some of the fringe players or some of the development players get game time. Dorrington, for instance, I know he made his debut away at Southampton coming off the bench, but he hasn't really seen any minutes since then. Lancashire, it'd be nice to see him get a start. But in terms of team selection, what would you like to see at Tamworth?
About like that. I think we have a lot of the first team that needs to get a big rest, especially Sonny. I think even Madison. I think one person said Madison probably should play. I was like, no, Madison. With his injury record and playing on this pitch, which is a lot of European players are not used to playing on the fake grass pitches like it is in America. In America, we're a little bit more level to it. Over in Europe, there's a little bit more fuss when you're playing on something more. It's more of a big deal when you're playing on a fake pitch. To me, I think my dad said this is like, it doesn't really matter what pitch you play on. If you can play, you can play. But
I agree.
They make it a big deal in Europe that you're not playing on a grass pitch, which I understand, of course, because even when I played, my high school team, we played on like a fake grass pitch, but it was better than most of the pitches we played against when we were away. So I think we would rather play on the fake pitch because of the mud and everything would just mess up the trajectory of the ball and everything. But especially when it rained. But yeah, I think we should really play a lot of our young players. They need it. If they can't play against a Division 5 club, what else? Or Division 6, or I think it's Division 5 though. But what else? Like, who can they play against? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are they on the first team at all if they don't even have any kind of magnitude of play of talent to play against a Division 5 club? I know they're still playing against grown men and et cetera, et cetera. These guys are going to probably try to play the best game of their lives. They're going to, because this is like a big game. I just saw one of the YouTube stories. They did like a whole video thing about the preparation they're doing at the stadium for Tamworth, and they're going real crazy. They even colored like our away locker room in navy and white.
Yeah.
Like, they're just now renovating it for the first time, so I don't know where they even got the access money, or I guess because of maybe the early ticket sales or something. But yeah, like they're doing a whole lot at that stadium to prepare for this match. So they're going to try to. And they already said they're going to be rowdy and they're going to try to make it the thing. And, I kind of do wish that we played it at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We made a deal with them to make, because they could have made a whole lot more money if they made it like an 80s. If we filled the whole stadium like that, because they would have got a little bit more of the ticket sales, because we do that with some of the other clubs as well. I think we do that with Leyton Orient and some of the other clubs like that we play against sometimes at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But that would have really helped that club out a lot. But hey, we're playing in at that stadium. That's going to be a big deal. That's going to be a memorable moment. But yeah, we need to play a lot of the young players. We need to play Lancashire. Dorrington, I know Andrew was saying how he's pretty much thinking that he should just go on loan. So I don't know if he sees him right now and then plans immediately. I don't think right now, but I do think he should get some game. He should get some game time, man. If he can't play against Tamworth, man, like okay, it's not gonna look so advertising for clubs who are probably gonna be looking for him for loan. So you need to play him. You play him. He's a center back. He's an actual center back. Play him. Give Gray a rest, man. Come on, we gotta. Some of these players should be able to go against them. I want to see the Korean kid. I want to see him so bad. I want to, especially on the left mid. I want to see more. Probably see him on the right mid, probably. And if I don't think we got much like bench young youth center mids, but we're probably gonna have to play probably more senior players when it comes to those kind of positions. So we're gonna have to just deal with that. But so that Madison probably would be in that equation because he didn't play last game. So, but we just got, and then we just got to hope for no injuries for this game.
Do you know what was I thought was fantastic is the Sun newspaper did a short interview with the Tamworth chairman, and said about the hospitality, and they said, "What will Daniel Levy and the and all of the other directors, what food will they get?" And they said, "Well, we've got pies and we're doing chips, so they'll get that like everybody else." I thought that was absolutely fantastic, and I think that probably the Spurs directors thinking that they're going to go in some hospitality suite. They're not. They're going to just go on the cold plastic seats like everyone else.
It's an old-fashioned football
it's
stadium.
Fantastic.
It's a
I love it.
English football stadium.
Love it.
I looked at it, I was like, okay, this is about they were saying how it's going to be a wake-up call to the first team. Like that's kind of disrespectful to a lot of those players. A lot of those players come from a variety of different backgrounds, man.
Absolutely.
Like, some of these players didn't come for anything, and they acting like this is going to be new to them because they're supposed to be fancy footballers who are now getting paid millions and millions of dollars. They got to that level. You can't be mad at them because they got to that level of football.
Yeah.
A lot of players don't, but a lot of them come from very humble beginnings, and I think this is going to be more of a kind of bring them back to when they play youth on football or whatever.
Yeah.
I know somebody just asked me, can West play winger? I can. But just to let you know, I'm fast as a mug. I can tell you that right now. I still play today. But that's a whole nother question. That's a whole nother equation. But
Craig, let's bring you in here because, as Wes said, if you can play, then you can play on whatever pitch. Because you've played on, I'm sure you played on some dodgy pitches. I played on some dodgy pitches when I was younger, and when I played in goal on those, when it rained. And it really did rain. The goal mouths were literally mud galore. And as I dive for the ball, I'd literally, be covered. But Wes is right, isn't he? Is too much being made of the pitch and the conditions at Tamworth? Because if you can play, you can play. I completely agree with Wes.
There is a degree to that. It did make me laugh. I think it was TSOM said in the comments, and something like that happened to a friend of mine when we were playing. He said he slipped through a load of sheep shit in one of his games, and he had to throw his kit away because it wouldn't come out. I had the same thing happen with my friend who made a great sliding tackle and slid through a load of dog mess that was on the pitch. And it's not quite going to be like that at Tamworth, but you're right. It could be worse in essence because you were playing on remember this pitch, although it's an old 3G pitch, it's going to be flat. Apart from, disregard the slope, but there's not going to be bobbles on it, right?
Yeah,
so you could be playing on a pitch with loads of bobbles, hardly any grass on it. So it's not going to be that bad. They should be able to adapt. I've got a question for Wes regarding the Liverpool game, and obviously the second leg coming up at Anfield now. I think I'm right in saying that you won't be old enough to remember the last time we beat Liverpool in a cup competition at Anfield. I think it was Teddy Sheringham and Jurgen Klinsmann days. It was early 90s.
Of course, he's not old enough. That was 95, March 95. That was.
He's nowhere near old enough for that.
Yeah,
I know because I know you do a lot of research on the club. I even spoke to you the other week. Great knowledge for a young fan. Can we get past Liverpool? Can we? We don't need to win. We know that, but we're not going to go there to be pragmatic. We know that what Angie's like, but can we get over the line at Anfield by hook or by crook? Can we get to that final?
Yeah, I think that's a quicker answer I can tell you. Yeah, we're up a goal. It's going to be hard because we're playing at Anfield, but it adds a whole lot more. I think I'm not going to say too much like a safety net, but it does. We have an advantage. We're up a goal. We're going to have a lot more players back. There's going to be a couple more weeks later until we play them again. So a lot of our players, especially on the attacking end, should be in. We should probably have a signing, at least one signing by that point. Maybe two signings. I think that's next month. I don't think that's more going to the end of the window than the closing of the window. Another thing, fun fact, yeah, I looked at the history so much. I look at the old black and white full games of the 60s teams and stuff. So a lot of people probably call me crazy for that because I'm only 25. Look, what am I doing looking at black and white film? Like, I don't really care. I love sports. So when I have an interest in something, I look at everything. I even want to look at the old teams as well. So yeah, I'm one of those fans. I look at everything that's Tottenham related. But yeah, that's the easiest answer. Is yeah, I think we can. We got the advantage. I think we now got them on their heels a little bit. And we'll see what kind of team we have when we go against them in the second leg.
Wes, as always, we love having you here, and we look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Yes. And I'm so sorry for missing that email. The email differences, I should have been on that longer show too, because I wanted to talk so much about that Liverpool game. But like when you see your emails at like 8 a.m., it's like 4 a.m. here or 3 a.m. here. So when I finally look at it, it's like I wake up probably at 10, but I don't look at the emails till like 12 or 1. By the time I send an email back to you, it's like 10 or 11 o'clock, and you already signed, you already put somebody else in that position. I was like, oh man.
Don't worry, Wes. There'll be plenty of opportunities. We love having you here. So, yeah, we'll definitely get you on the Spurs Chat podcast very, very soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Y'all have a good one, and come on, you Spurs.
Thanks, Wes.
Cheers, Wes. See you later.
Yep.
Now, a lot of people are asking how you can get involved in one of these fan shows. It is literally very, very simple. Just email me, tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. As I've said many, many times, it's great to have so many different opinions on our fantastic football club on this stream. Next, we're going to go to Roy.
Hi.
Roy, great to have you here. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure. How are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan?
Well, up till Wednesday, I wasn't too good, but Wednesday was a change in my feelings about the club. And I'm optimistic if we can get the players in and our players back from injury and suspension. So, yeah, I'm feeling good at the moment. And I think we have a good chance of getting to the final when we play Liverpool. So I'm gung-ho.
You are confident about getting the win then at Anfield, Roy, because you know that we have such a
draw. If we get a draw,
yeah.
So,
do you think it would be? Do you think that result against Liverpool that we're also hoping and praying for is? Do you think it's doable with the current set of players, or do you think we need a couple of players to come in the window to strengthen that squad?
I think if we got Van de Ven back and Romero, and we got somebody, I'm not too happy with one or two of the players we've got at the moment. So if they can be replaced, then I think we can go up the league. But I'm much more optimistic about Europa League and the League Cup than I am about moving very far up the league. I don't think we will qualify for European football based upon our league position, because I think we've got too much ground to make up.
Roy, how are you feeling about the league at the moment? Because we're sitting in 12th. We're not used to seeing Spurs mid-table like this, at least for some years. And also what I wanted to ask is the managers that we have had, particularly under Daniel Levy, it does seem that, we average a manager every 18 to 20 months. Ange Postecoglou, are you completely behind Ange and what he's trying to do at Tottenham?
Yes, I think he's been extremely unlucky in the injuries and the suspensions he's had, and it would be totally disruptive for the manager to be replaced. I think you've got to give him at least until the end of the season to see how he does with the players coming back. No, I think it'd be a disaster if we tried to replace him, and there's nobody on the horizon that we could replace him with, I don't think. So it's not just a matter of his not being that good. He is good, I think, and he's optimistic, and I think his style fits in well with the team. So yes, I can't say I'm thrilled with what's happened in the league so far. It's been not good at all, but I think we will do very well with the team back. The players that have been sidelines at the moment.
Do you think Ange has been backed, Roy, so far?
No, I think that my beef with the club is that I think the board have concentrated far more on getting a good stadium, and obviously they have a very good stadium. They haven't had the players to fit the quality of the stadium that is there, and they seem to concentrate far more on the stadium and the entertainment side of it than enhancing the team, and it's concerning to me. And they seem to be penny pinching. I'm not saying they should spend money willy-nilly on players carelessly, but we need to get excellent players in order to attract other players to the team.
Roy, what are your expectations? Lastly, I might add, what are your expectations of this January window? And I think more importantly, what are your expectations of the summer window? Because I feel as fans and as a football club, and certainly with Ange Postecoglou, the summer windows are absolutely vital to get the key players in, to start your season well, and show ambition to want to do something special at the football club. So the summer window, I feel like, is really important. The January window, as we all know, it's all about opportunities, all about players that, a lot of the time you're signing players because they're not happy at a club or not doing so well at a club, or you're signing them from a small club that want a bigger move. So January is very difficult. And I might add as well that this January is more difficult than previous Januaries, because if players are playing in European competition, of course the format is different, teams are still in Europe, but the summer window, what would you hope for?
I think it's difficult to tell at this stage, because if we manage to bring back players who have been injured, and we bring in, I want a winger particularly, and a left back, but if we bring in those, the need for other players may dissipate, because we've got extremely good young players there, Archie Gray and Bergvall. I'm not sure at this stage. I don't know what other players we will need. I think we have to judge towards the end of the season what other players we need, not at this stage.
Roy, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll speak to you again soon.
Come on, you Spurs.
Cheers, Roy. Have a great weekend.
That's right.
We're now going to go to New York and speak to Lee. Lee, how are you?
Good morning or good afternoon, as it is for you guys. Hello.
Lee, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now?
Well, I've been a Spurs fan since '81, aging myself a bit. Had a season ticket, late 90s, George Graham, then Hoddle. Been away, home and away a lot. I've been in New York for nearly 20 years. So, I've got PTSD, probably like everybody else, where you moments of joy amongst, dour pessimism. So, obviously, Wednesday was fantastic. But it's been a tough season. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me, I think we have to win something. I think it's a mental block. I think it reminds me of the Ashes in 2005, if you like your cricket. Just couldn't beat the Aussies, and we beat them. And then all of a sudden we had a belief. And I think we just have to break out of that. The league position is probably too much, but I suppose it's possible. We get our players back. But I think if we win something, the fan base is going to unite. And, it's pretty fractured right now, as you guys know. So, always optimistic. But, reality tells us that not to get too carried away.
Lee, do you think, you touched on it there, we got to the Champions League final. Had we won that Champions League final, I think the last 4 or 5 years would have been incredibly different. And I think that was a real sort of sliding doors moment in the club's history. Do you honestly believe, with this young group of players, the rebuild we're going through and keep going through, do you think if we can get a trophy in the cabinet this season, do you think that could really push this group of players on to bigger and better things? Or do you think it's going to happen sort of organically anyway? But what I'm saying really is, do you think if we win the Carabao or whatever this season, this group of players will have that belief to go on for further success?
Yeah, I do actually, just because we got out the sort of Dyers and Højbjergs, and we got out some of the older guys who were a little bit probably as mentally scarred as maybe with the three of us on this pod are, especially after the first 20 seconds of the Champions League final. I think they're young enough. What are we talking about? Like, even some of our experienced players, quote unquote, are 26, 28. A lot of them are 22. And then I heard somebody the other day talking about but also, 22 is young. Let's not forget that. We've got these 18-year-olds. So I think there'll be a catalyst, because what they haven't been scarred, they'll have belief. And I think for Ange, I think it's the validation that he probably needs, because as the short-termism of our football club, which obviously has come from the top. And I will say, I think it's pretty an unpopular opinion, but if you're an Ange out person, then you're like, well, this is just a foregone conclusion. It's a matter of when he goes. But if you're Ange in, I think you've got to give Levy a little bit of chops, because Levy is so far out of his comfort zone based on the behavior that he's demonstrated over the last 20 years in terms of his short-termism, to actually stick with a guy who, given where we are, and injuries, yes, but injuries are probably the result of how they're being trained, or at least how they're playing. So you can't be blameless for the injuries, I guess is what I'm saying. There's probably not a business out there where after 18 months you turn around to your board and say, we're still rebuilding. I mean, people would be like, how long is it going to be? So I have to say it's painful, but I think Levy must get some credit for if it continues with like sticking with this. And then if we win something, it will validate it. And then I don't think we're going to march on and win the league, but I think more success should follow for sure, because I think it's a mental thing.
Lee, big signing in the summer, of course, Dominic Solanke. What have you made of him so far in a Spurs shirt? Because I feel like he does so much running. His hold-up play is absolutely superb. Showing this clip now of his layoff to Lucas Bergvall on Wednesday. Bergvall's first goal, of course, for the club. What have you made of Solanke?
I just think he's been incredible. And it's funny you show that clip, because a friend of mine said it to me, who's ironically a Man United fan, and he said, how great to see a number 9 running the channels, bullying the centre half and laying it off. For all this kind of modern football, that was so beautiful for everything about it. I mean, obviously he needs support. I think when I was on the show with Barnaby the other week, he was bemoaning the lack of crosses. So I think we could probably play a little bit different in some circumstances and go more direct, perhaps. But I think his goal return and his assists are pretty decent. But actually, as you guys know, if you actually see the work rate he puts in, it's incredible. So I just worry, like everyone else, that if his performance level is in the red zone, which it's got to be, that's when injuries happen. So I really hope we don't see him tomorrow. I really hope we don't see him tomorrow.
You always notice in the press conferences, a lot of the journalists are so bothered about Solanke's record, the goal scoring record. But you're right in what you said there. It's about, overall performance. If he's giving everything on the pitch, and Ange is not, I feel like Ange is not a numbers person. It's like, if you're doing the job that he wants you to do, then that's good enough. And, if we're seeing him, like that clip that I just showed, laying off for another player to score, does his goal scoring record really matter? Are people just fixated on numbers? And I know it's very hard to follow someone like Harry Kane, particularly with his numbers.
Yeah, I mean, the irony was that the very first game against Leicester, he had about 5 chances. There was like, then do you remember he just was like, it was like headers at 6 yards, and actually probably had more chances in that game than we've set up for him in many of the games since. But I think it will come with him. But I think he's been incredible. I think the tricky bit for us is, you're talking about signings. We're a club who signs one star player or one kind of 65 mil player, and then we buy a bunch of kids, right? That's our sort of window, and maybe a loan. So I think he's been a brilliant addition on that front. But I think obviously he needs help, and Richarlison would be that player, but it's just whether we can really trust him, not trust his mentality, but just trust his body to be a good backup. I think maybe Lancashire will play tomorrow. I don't know.
Last question for you, Lee. You touched on Richarlison there. I've never been convinced that he is the man. Do you think he's a good enough backup to Solanke? Should we see him as a backup to Solanke, or somebody that should be challenging Solanke for that number 9 position? And if we sell Richarlison, if he leaves the club, who would you like to see the club bring in? Anybody in particular?
I mean, £65 million backup is a bit of a joke, isn't it, really? He should be challenging, but we all know why he can't. And I don't, it's not his mental, because he always tries. He always gives everything. I was the same, really. When we signed him, I was kind of like, like he was actually exciting at Watford. He did okay. He did great in Everton that season. He kept them up. But I think the problem for Spurs is if we sell him, we're going to take a big loss. And it's just whether Levy's going to want that on the balance sheet. So I don't know. I mean, I would love a fit Richarlison from a replacement standpoint. I don't know. I think what we need is probably speed. And I think what they're looking at is probably someone who could play off the left, who could play centrally, but who's super fast. Whether we sign a sort of direct number 9 replacement, I don't know. But it's hard to say. I mean, I've been trying to keep an eye on what's happening with, what's he called, Vilez or Viez, or the guy we've got out on loan. Because he, you know, for the 5 minutes he played for us before he got injured, and then we loaned him again, the young Argentine guy. You know, I thought there was a player there, but haven't seen enough of him to know. But it depends what he wants. But he obviously wants someone who can press. It's not just a big number 9. It's someone who can, like, relentlessly close down fullbacks and centre halves. So I'm not quite sure who that name is. But, yeah, I'd be happy if Richarlison could turn it around. But you just fear that he's got the sort of Darren Anderton curse in terms of just, you know, keep going.
Yeah, Vilez currently on loan, not getting enough game time. I think it is expected that he's going to return again to Tottenham in this January window, and Spurs perhaps need to find another club for him. Lee, you're always a great guest. Thank you so much for coming on. Have a great weekend, and if you'd like to come on the Spurs Chat podcast at any time, please do let me know. You're more than welcome.
You got it. Great to talk to you guys. Have a good one. Cheers,
Lee. Thank you. We're now going to go to Chris. Chris, how are you?
Hi, how you doing?
Very well.
It's been a very long podcast so far. It's been fascinating listening to the other people's opinions.
I'm so sorry we are running late. I blame Craig. No, Craig's hardly got a word in actually on this podcast because I keep talking. But we've had so many great guests on. You've heard a lot of the opinions from a lot of the other guests. How are you feeling right now overall this season?
I think we've probably blown the league in terms of where we want to finish in the league. That's going to be, I think we're going to struggle to make more than about 45 to 50 points. I mean, that's a long way off. You look at the games we've got coming up, there aren't many guaranteed wins. We've got some tough teams to play. I'm not an Ange in person, unfortunately. I think that most people have been on the podcast so far. I think his performance at the end of last season would have thrown doubts of whether he would have been kept on. That sort of transpired into this season. Our performances haven't been good at all. I've seen some indifferent tactics. I think we've got a team of two halves. We've got a team that's very good going forward. I mean, he's got that nailed. Going forward, good tactics, sort of works. Probably need to cross the ball a bit better. I mean, your previous guest talked about crosses with Solanke. We are about third or fourth in the league in terms of the number of crosses that we make. And I was quite surprised. I thought we'd be down the bottom somewhere, but we're not. Well, it's 350 crosses, I think. So we're in the top 5 in the league. But it must be down to accuracy then, because we've got someone up front who's a really good, Solanke is a very good buy. He's hard-working. The ball sticks to him. You know, you get out there and 6 times out of 10, 7 times out of 10, it'll stick to him. He'll fight off the centre back. He's a good player. I think his effort is. I've not seen him play badly in any game I've watched. So I think we're going forward. We're good. At the back, we're lacking, and that worries me. It's our defence that worries me at the moment, and we're going to struggle if he doesn't sort out and makes this team a lot tighter at the back and stop conceding goals.
Do you worry about getting more injuries, Chris? Though, because obviously we're all pleased that this injury crisis, the latest injury crisis, seems to be coming to an end with players coming back later this month and into February.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's something in the back of my mind that thinks that's all very well, but what injuries are we going to get during this period, and then more players being out? So do you
really thin? Can we? We're really thin on the ground.
Yeah. Do you think that's down to the training, the way we play, or just sheer bad luck?
I'm going to go back in time a bit, and I was talking about this with the people that know inside football. So my cousin just played for Spurs. So and he talked. I told him, why are Liverpool so good? And this is back in the 70s, and we just played Liverpool as well. And they're always consistently good, and they always seem to get a team out, and they're always like. And he said, the Liverpool team, they don't train too much. They do very little running. They do an immense amount of passing and personal skills. So whether we are overtraining and we're picking up loads of hamstring injuries and we're playing this sort of little bit of gung-ho football, and everyone's probably played these games where you all go up front, you lose the ball, and you're all coming back, and it's back and forth, and it's a bit basketball. And I think maybe we get overstretched, and our defence are picking up injuries because of that, and probably maybe because of training. I mean, Mickey van der Ven needs to be a bit of a hamstring target. Maybe he needs to go onto a different training regime to keep him fit. That sort of thing. So that, I mean, so people insinuate that maybe that's Ange's training methods. Maybe they need to change them, and we need to safeguard the rest of our season and not pick up those injuries and not self-inflict them. We do need to buy a centre half. I think this window. We are very thin on the ground at the back. The guys playing at the back are doing a fantastic job, to be honest. Archie Gray, a very accomplished young player. He's playing at the back in a position that's not really his position at all. He's doing a fantastic job. You can't say he's not playing well. He's calm and collected, but we really want to see him playing midfield. I mean, we really want to see him in that number 6 role, or whatever role he's going to play in midfield.
Chris, at the start, you said you're not Ange in. What's the alternative? Because as we mentioned earlier, the amount of managers that we have gone through, 7 different managers from Pochettino now to Postecoglou since 2019, 7 different managers in the dugout. Can we really keep replacing managers like this?
Well, no, it's not great business, is it? But I'm not quite sure if he's really. Someone said today he's an ideal Spurs manager because he plays a sort of this sort of football that we love to see. But in reality, if you want to win things, you've got to have someone that understands how to discipline teams into being defensive and playing in formation. Now, what's his name? Pochettino had that. He got Spurs playing in formation. We had some good players at the back. I mean, come on, that's the best back 4 we've had for a long, long time. We had some, there's a couple of superb players in that back line. Yeah. And we were defensive. We had a season where we only conceded 18, 20 goals in a season. I mean, that's league-winning form. And, you'll win anything if you have a defence like that.
You don't like the attitude then of don't worry, we'll concede 1 or 2, but don't worry, we'll score 3 or 4. You don't like that?
It doesn't work, unfortunately, does it? So it's hubris. So he's like you can't. It's Aussie idealist tactics. You can't go out and play 2-3-5 because all that sort of 1950s football is out the window now. I mean, it's a defensive game. You start with a point, and you've got to hang on to that point, or not take 3.
So are you basically saying then that you think that will be Andrew's downfall somewhere down the line that he just sets up this way? Because we all know that he's not going to change. How many times have we heard him say that? The journalist keeps saying about setting up, and he's like, I'm not going to change. I do this, stop asking the same question.
Yeah, but the other manager's going to love that if he keeps saying it, because they're going to say, well, this is how we're going to play against you. I think tactically he lacks a little bit. We played Fulham a couple of weeks ago, didn't we? And Fulham, I didn't know this lad was playing for this. I can't remember his second name. Anthony Johnson, or he plays at left back for him, who is a fabulous player. I didn't realise how good he was. And I'm thinking, we're doing nothing about this. I think he must do something about it by half time. Does he not realise how good this guy is at left back? And nothing happened. And of course they come back and we got a good game. It's a 2-2 draw. And Fulham, and that lad, well, no wonder Liverpool want him because he's fabulous. So
Chris, as you know, we're running really behind, but I feel like I feel like I could talk to you for hours on end, and I feel like you have got so much more to say. So please do come back and see us in the very near future, and we'll talk to you a lot more if you're up for it.
Yeah, I'd love to come back. Really good. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks, Chris. Have a great weekend.
Good. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
We're now going to go to John. John, how are you? Great to have you here. John, I think you're on mute. Craig, we've had some fantastic guests on today.
We certainly have, yeah. Honestly, it's so great to speak to all these guests. They've got wonderful knowledge, all of them.
Lots of very different opinions as well.
Yeah.
Hello, you should hear me now.
Hello, John. Great to have you with us. How are you?
Yeah, hello. I was trying to use my fancy mic, and for some reason, StreamYard just does not like it. But there we go.
That's all right. We had the same problem with Craig the other day.
Okay.
We've all had
how are you?
problems.
How are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now, John?
Same as usual when it's an FA Cup weekend, really. FA Cup means more to me than anything in sport, really. I don't actually watch Tottenham play on the TV when it's an FA Cup game anymore because I find it far too stressful. I will always keep an eye on what the score is. I'll watch the highlights. I'll listen to it on the radio, but no, I can't watch it live. I haven't watched a live Spurs FA Cup game since the last semi-final defeat against Chelsea.
That's bizarre. Tell me why. What is it? You can listen to it on the radio, but you can't watch it on the TV.
Yeah, because when you're you make audio, Chris. You make podcasts. It's a different experience. When you're listening to audio, you can do other things. If I'm stuck on my sofa and I'm ingesting the game in that way, I'm stuck. But if it's in my ears, I can move around. I can do other things and distract myself a bit more. It's just a way of dealing with the Tottenham stress, really.
That's really weird, John.
Well,
I
I know.
I know everybody's different, but I would have to watch it if it's on the television, certainly. So obviously you say the FA Cup means a lot to you. What are your best memories of Tottenham playing in the FA Cup?
Well, I would say the semi-final against Arsenal is probably my favourite moment. I have a wonderful photo of the free kick up on one of the walls in my house. But it always used to be a bragging rights thing, It always used to be a thing that we could say that we'd won it more than anyone else. And that went ages ago. And I think my dream as a Tottenham fan has unfortunately for a long time now been that one day we'll win enough again that we'll be able to say that again. Sadly, I don't think that will happen in my lifetime. But yeah, that's what we should always be able to say, in my opinion.
John, you've probably listened to so many different opinions on this show and on other podcasts that we record. Alex from the channel, Mr. Box Office, has said, I told you, Chris, Andrew's not good with tactics. Now, as I mentioned to a lot of guests so far, there has been a lot of criticism towards the Tottenham Hotspur boss, particularly this season. There was some criticism last season as well. What have you made of Ange Postecoglou's time at Spurs? Is he the man to drive us forward? Are you behind him?
I am, yeah, absolutely. You got to remember the thing that he says quite a lot, which is he wants to change the club. Okay, and that's what I want. I want change for the club. I want change in the mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to hear phrases like Spursy. I don't want to. Look, the man wants to win every game of football, and he doesn't care who it's against, and he doesn't care what the permutations are. That's why he wanted to beat Man City at the end of last season, and I personally found that quite difficult as well, because I don't want Tottenham to ever lose a game of football. I want us to win everything all the time. I don't give a crap what Arsenal are doing. Do you know what I mean? So and it's the fact that he wants to change the mentality, which means I'm so behind him.
John, Craig and I both did a podcast with the Sun newspaper last year with James Black as well, with the three of us. And I was asked a question on that podcast: will Ange Postecoglou remove that Spursy tag from Tottenham? And I said, yes, he will. How confident are you that he's going to remove that Spursy tag? Because that's one term I absolutely hate, by the way.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it as much as when people say man flu. It's just it doesn't mean anything. It's just nonsense. Well, what has he got to do? That was the question. We have, how many games have we had this season now where we've been winning and then we lose? Because I think that's probably the main stick that we get hit with. I think it might have happened at least twice now. Obviously the Brighton one was bad. So cutting those out would be good. Getting a result at Anfield in a few weeks would be incredible. My prediction for that is that we'll have something really strange and get a 0-0. That's what I think is going to happen. That's the feeling I've got about that. Like when England had to go to Rome and we got a 0-0 draw to qualify for France '98. It's got those vibes for me.
That's yeah. No, I was just sitting here digesting what you were saying. It's that Spursy word. It does infuriate me, doesn't it? When people say it. What really annoys me is when you hear it on like the likes of Talk Sport, like Jason Cundy might say it, just for purely winding up. I think Jamie O'Hara. You know,
don't waste any energy listening to him. That's what he wants.
Pure wind-up merchant, absolute wind-up merchant.
He was a great guest on here recently, actually, Jason Cundy.
Yeah. He is basically just a. He's like a lot of these things. He's a character, isn't he? He's playing a character, and he knows it's going to get reaction. You know, but it's always struck me as funny as somebody who actually played for the club. You know, but he's a Chelsea boy. So anyway, enough about other fans, other clubs' fans. Anyway, but yeah. Last question for you, John. Give us a score prediction for tomorrow, even though you won't be watching, and a score prediction for the North London derby.
Yeah, we'll probably concede one, and they might even score first. I reckon. I think Gary said earlier it will probably be ages until the first goal. That's the sort of anxiety that I'm used to with these sorts of games. So I don't know, 3-1 is what I've been thinking.
John, I've got to ask you this before you go. If Spurs do get to the FA Cup final, would you watch it then?
No.
Wow. Okay.
I'll get the radio on and I'll go and do some gardening or something. I'm not going to get a ticket. I've not got no chance of getting a ticket. So,
is it just the FA Cup you don't watch? So the League Cup, you watch the League Cup, yeah?
Yeah. Everything else.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, John, you've been a great guest. Thank you.
Look, we'll win the FA Cup this season, and then I can start watching again. There you go.
Yeah. Brilliant. You've been a great guest. Thank you, John. Enjoy your gardening, and we'll speak to you soon,
guys.
Cheers. See you later.
Bye. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Right, now let's go to Mark. Mark, how are you?
Hey, Chris. G'day, Craig. Good to be on the program.
How you doing?
Thanks, for
Mark.
having me.
Great to have you here. Pleasure to have you on. How are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan? And let's start. Alex has written another comment in here, Mr. Box Office. Can someone tell me what is the project at Spurs? Of course, Ange Postecoglou's been here for just over 18 months. What have you made of his time at Tottenham?
Yeah, look, I'm optimistic despite the up and down results this season so far, particularly in the Premier League. But I'm really holding out hope with the cup competitions, particularly the Carabao. Many positive signs of late. I think the Newcastle game was a real turning point in the way that the team played with a lot more energy. I'm definitely glass half full, despite the position in the current league, the league ladder.
Mark, I'm guessing from your accent, you're over the other side of the world to us, or certainly come from that area.
Yeah, correct.
Is that right?
It's 1:30 a.m. It's been stinking hot in Melbourne, and I'm based here in Ange's hometown. So naturally, probably, suggest I have a bit of a bias there, but I think that he's the team and the club's definitely on the right path, and I think that they need to show some faith. And I think one thing I will say, I think that improvement, it's not always linear, is it? Like in terms of if you're developing this project and you want to see it through, then there's going to be ups and downs along the way. And obviously they got off to a really solid start in Ange's first season, but as one of your guests the other day was pointed out, that in terms of the it could be a blessing in disguise, and I tend to agree with that in terms of the injuries this season. I think that finding players, fast tracking the development of guys like Lucas Bergvall Archie Gray, and bringing in Jed Spence, and he's been performing really well the last few weeks. So I think that's going to hold the club in really good stead going forward.
Mark, it was really interesting. You say you come from Angie's hometown of Melbourne there. The general feeling in Australia as a country, I know it's probably very hard to judge a whole country, but they quite rightly probably feel proud of Ange, don't they, and what he's achieved. And he was quite a buzz when we installed him as our manager, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It was big news here. I mean, obviously we've had such, some prominent players in the league over there with the likes of Harry Kewell, Mark Viduka, Mark Schwarzer. But the fact that Ange has, broken through and become the first manager in the Premier League from this part of the world was really, a great achievement, and it was really applauded over here. So, you'd seen his the way he worked his way up, and it was interesting listening to him in his press conference about, referencing his time way back when he was at South Melbourne Hellas, and understanding, starting at that sort of grassroots type football and understanding what it's like to play at that level and just work his way through. So it's an outstanding achievement, and something that's been really recognised here.
Mark, I also wanted to ask you about Ange, because he's always delivered, hasn't he? As Spurs fans, we know that we've had managers before in Jose Mourinho, been there, done it, won a trophy everywhere he's been. Antonio Conte the same. Ange Postecoglou has always delivered at every club that he's been at. He's always been the underdog. People have always doubted him, but he's always delivered. What's your prediction for Ange? Do you think he is going to be the next Spurs manager to lift a trophy, because it has been a long time without one?
Yeah, I think so, Chris. I think the evidence is there. And I think back to 2015, I think it was, when Australia won the Asian Cup. And, that sort of style of football that Ange implemented, and you saw that. And I think he referenced also in his press conference about the time when he was in charge of the Socceroos, and, those sort of those matches where the team were underdogs against the likes of the Netherlands on the world stage. And he really had this ability to get the players believing in his methods. And instilling that belief in them that they could compete with the very best. And I think that, that mentality he's bringing to Spurs, I think he's really going to enable the club to succeed when it comes to the crunch, those big finals. If they do make it through, get through Anfield, beat Liverpool, hopefully. I think he's the person to lift the trophy for them.
How do you think the game's going to go tomorrow, Mark?
Yeah, interesting one. I agree with a lot of the callers. I think that players need to be rested. Some of them look cooked. I think that, the likes of Kulusevski could do with a break. I think Solanke has been outstanding, the way he keeps running and keeps pressing and, just showing that brute strength. It's been fantastic. And I'd say he's been one of my favourite players to watch in the season thus far. So, look, I think it'll be a victory. I don't think it'll be easy, so I'll predict probably a 3-0 win.
Mark, lastly, you're talking to us in the early hours of the morning, which we are very, very grateful for. So I take it you're going to be up in the early hours of the morning again watching the game against Tamworth?
Yeah, I checked out the schedule for that one, and I believe it starts at 11:30 p.m. Sunday night my time. So it's not as bad as the 3 a.m. Setting the alarm in some of the previous matches. So it's a little bit better for me, but definitely I'll be tuning in to see that match.
Mark, thank you so much for joining us. You've been a great guest, and we'd love to have you on again soon.
Good on you. Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Craig.
Cheers, Mark. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
We're now going to go to New York again. We've got Terry Kim with us. Terry, how are you?
I'm great, Craig. Great, Chris. Craig, how's it going? How fantastic is it? How fantastic is it you go from Melbourne to New York? I mean, it's a 16-hour time difference from here to Melbourne. That's just great. That's great.
Do you know what? In the podcast, Craig always says, tell us where you're watching from. So I feel like I'm taking Craig to all these different countries, so he don't need a holiday anymore.
Yeah.
No, Terry said he put me up. Come on.
Yeah, Craig, you mentioned the World Cup. It's the final. The World Cup final is is a 25-minute drive from our house here.
Oh, it is New York, right? Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
So it's at MetLife Stadium. So yeah, if England are in the final and you guys are in town, then yeah, we have a guest bedroom if you
We will definitely take you up on that one, 100%. Yeah.
See, always wanting that trip. Terry, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now? Because we've spoken a lot to the guests so far on this show about the positives that we take from Wednesday. We've also spoken about it's going to be a very, very tough game up at Liverpool in 4 weeks' time. We face Arsenal next week. We've got Tamworth first. A lot is happening. Games are coming thick and fast. Players are coming back from injury, which is great. It's going to be really good when Ange has got a fully fit squad again. But overall, how are you feeling?
It's am I still on?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's amazing how one game can really change the vibes, like the Liverpool. I mean, it's
we've lost him.
Oh,
we've lost Terry.
that's a
We'll
shame.
come back to Terry. Always a fantastic guest. We'll come back to Terry in New York. We will now go to Matt. Matt, let's come to you. Matt, how are you?
Hey, how you doing, guys? Can you hear me?
Perfectly well. Great to have you
All
here.
right.
How are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now?
Well, just like everybody else has said, I think the win against Liverpool the other day was a big vibe check. I mean, we feel better. We saw real commitment. We saw a lot of pragmatism. I mean, something that nobody's giving Ange credit for. I did see one interview from Troy Deeney when they interviewed him, and he actually praised Ange for changing a bit of the tactics. And you can see that recently. You can see the fullbacks are not inverting. They're not bombing forward. You know how we used to get caught in that transitional where we all push forward and then they win the ball back and then immediately it's coming right back on us? We don't see that anymore. We're seeing a bit of more of a foundational, like defensive structure around it. And it's good to see that, because one of the big things I've been harping on for so long is that defensive structure. It's just like, you have to have the people in the right places. We've seen it so many times, especially last season, like those Wolves games. Remember, we had nobody in the midfield. We'd lose the ball and immediately they'd be right down on us, breathing down our neck. But going back to your original question, sorry, I could kind of ramble on about nonsense.
That's all right.
I do feel good. I think it set us up for January. I feel really confident after that last thing. But again, it all depends on the next thing. Can we keep seeing progression? We saw the second half of Newcastle. It was nice. We saw a real good effort. Can we continue this? Let's continue taking these nice baby steps. That's what I want to see.
Matt, I should have asked, where are you based in the world?
Oh, I'm in New Jersey. So we've gone in the last 3 people from Australia to New York, and now we've gone all the way across the river to New Jersey.
Fantastic.
I'll tell you what, you stole my thunder there, Chris, because I was going to guess from his
I did.
accent that he was from New Jersey. I do. Honestly, the accent is. You can tell from the accent, New Jersey, New York. No, that's great to have people on from all over the world. And you've got a problem with drones there as well, Matt. You must have seen the drones over there.
Oh my God. It's just everyone's posting on, we have the Ring doorbells, so they have the community and everyone's posting all this stuff. Oh my God, there's drones and drones. I mean, when I look up in the sky, I'm just looking for stars and planets. My son likes astronomy, so we do that. I don't care about these drones. I have better things to do with my time, like pass out on the couch as soon as it hits 8:30 because 2 kids, wife, who has time for anything else? But I do want to correct Terry though. The World Cup final is in New Jersey, not New York.
Oh.
It's in New Jersey. It's in the Meadowlands. It's in the Meadowlands.
So Craig's staying at your house instead then?
You know what? We're working on refinishing this basement. Don't pay attention to this mess over here. We're going to finish this.
Needs a bit of work. Yeah,
that's your room. That's your room, Craig. It looks like the away dressing room at Tamworth right now.
We'll paint it blue and white. Just like Tamworth, right? No, don't worry, guys. We got until 2026. I can whip this up. Give me a couple of months. We'll be good.
Matt, coming back to the football, obviously great win against Liverpool, but it's only half time. How do you see us performing at Anfield, and what have we got to do? Is it just a case of getting through this tie? Surely it is.
I think the big thing is just, they always want to kind of dumb it down, and you just got to avoid defeat. You got to avoid defeat. I mean, how many teams can really go to Anfield and avoid defeat? I mean, am I confident for the second leg? It's strange. I do feel confident, but at the same time, if we could get hammered, I mean, they could score within the first minute, and then all of that first leg is completely in the trash can. So I just want to really see an effort from the boys. If we keep seeing the efforts, I'm okay with that. We'll have players returning. Hopefully we could have, maybe one or two new additions. I think we could do that as long as Ange and the team continues to progress. We see some more of this pragmaticism, adapting to kind of just countering Slot's methods. Slot's going to put on, I think, pretty much a full side when we get to that point, because I don't think he wants to be the guy who loses a two-legged tie at home. I definitely do not think the Liverpool fans will be thrilled about that. My neighbor is actually from Liverpool. So the other day when they whooped us 6-3, oh my God, he was like, hey buddy, how's it going? And I'm like, it's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. Thanks. Have a good day.
Matt, if I ask you to predict the from now until the end of the season, what are your predictions? Do you think the Spurs will end up winning a trophy under Ange this season? And like I've asked a couple of previous guests, the league position, does that bother you, or is it just about time that Spurs just concentrated a little bit more on winning a cup, because we haven't won one for so long?
Well, I think, a lot of the fans that we've had on, they've all kind of said the same thing. We want a cup. Of course, we want that glory. We do. We want to see progression in that. We're still alive on those three fronts. I think our best chance is actually the Europa League for some strange reason. I like the new format. Hopefully we win those two last matches and we could skip all of February with that, the round of 32, I think that it is. And we go right into the round of 16. And then at that point, it's a toss up. It depends on how we get drawn. But I actually think the Europa League is our best chance, followed by the FA Cup. The Carabao Cup, it would be so Tottenham to get past Liverpool and then to lose like 1-0 to like Newcastle or Arsenal in the final. So so that one is like, kind of my lowest priority type thing. So I have more confidence in the Europa League and the FA Cup. But when it comes to league position, being an American sports fan, you constantly, there's so many years where you get nothing. You get absolutely nothing, and your teams are terrible, and you rebuild, and you have to go through it. I mean, some of my teams have been on rebuilds for 20 odd years. So I am a patient person. As long as we don't get relegated, if we could end up in the top half of the table and get some cups, get a cup, maybe progress to a final and another one, I'm happy as a clan, man, because that's progression, and that's what we need to see as a club. We need to see the progression. And from that, we could build on that over the summer. And brings in a couple of more kids. We could see more of this development from these kids. That's the exciting thing. I'm so excited about these kids coming through. Archie Gray is just like, is a revelation. I mean, that clip that the club posted where he won the ball, takes a step out, makes a shimmy, like drops the guy, takes another shimmy, and then hits it with the outside of the boot. Oh my God, that was like pure sex. I'm telling you, man. I was like, oh my God. Ah! I don't care where he plays. Play him anywhere. Just keep him on the pitch. Oh God. So beautiful to watch.
Matt, lastly, why are you a Tottenham fan? What got you into Spurs?
The Gaza free kick. The Gaza free kick in the semifinal. That's what it was. I really wasn't big into soccer at that time in the 80s. In the 80s in America, it's all football and Chicago Bulls or the Celtics and the Lakers, and and the Giants and the Jets and the Yankees and the Mets and everything like that. And I was like, all that stuff is boring. Like, it just bores me. So like somebody showed me a clip of this, you know, I was like, and I'm like, wow, how did he do that? And then I just started looking into it, and then I started looking into the club. I saw that, you know, they last won in 61, so they're not like this. It's not like a bandwagon thing. You know, I know a lot of neighbors of mine, they're Chelsea fans, so I'm just like, bandwagoners. You know, I always say that. I find City fans, I'm like, you guys are bandwagoners. Where were you 12 years ago? I remember when City got hammered 8-1 on the final day of the season by Middlesbrough. That was like 20 years ago, but kind of dating myself. So yeah, it's just from there. And I like the styles. I like, you know, we've had so many great players come through. You know, I was a big fan of Modric.
Yeah.
You know, so many of these great players have come through, and they've always had that bit of flair, that eccentricity, and just the genius. And so, yeah, we don't win. We don't win much, but we have some fun. So, I mean, you kind of got to be like, I hate the Ange says, are you not entertained? I am entertained, but at the same time, I kind of want to have some winning. And I do believe that this style can lead to it based on what I've seen over the last couple of months and year, where he's starting to change his ways a little bit and make minor tweaks. Not a wholesale change, just minor tweaks. And that, I think, is going to give us the platform to go forward.
Matt, you've been such a fun guest, and get Craig's room ready because he'll be coming over.
Hey, no problem. You know what? Like I said, we'll put the posters up. I got a couple of old jerseys. I mean, look at this. I busted this jacket out from, I think, like the Redknapp years, I think. Look at this. This is the Puma one. Look at this. Puma way back. I'm surprised there's no stains on it. That's a big thing.
Matt,
but yeah,
you're gonna
no,
have to come back. You're going to have to come back and see us again soon, and come back on the Spurs Chat podcast, because you've been a great guest, very, very entertaining, and you've had a lot of comments about your entertaining style. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks a lot, guys. Listen, the best of the Happy New Year. Thanks for having me on. Great show. The one thing I will say, Chris, can we go back to the original music at the beginning of your podcast? That was really cool way back, you know, like, and it was
a few people have said that.
A few people have said that.
Yeah,
it was like the movie epic, like transfer news, Tottenham women.
Darren Altman will absolutely. How much has Darren Altman told you to say? You know, how much has he paid you to say that?
My lips are sealed on that one, but you know, the check's in the mail.
Matt, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
You too, guys. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Right, we're now going to go to Melvin in Malta. Melvin, how are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Perfectly well. How are you feeling right now, Melvin? Great win on Wednesday against Liverpool.
Yeah, I'm good, guys. How are you? Yeah, I mean, we were talking all week on the chat together. Everyone was happy. One win, and all of a sudden it changes the mood of the entire club. And you know, all of a sudden the sky is more blue. You know, you hear the birds, you see a rainbow, and you're nearly in a final. You know, we have one foot in the door. Big performance from the players. Happy from some aspects. Still concerned with some aspects. You know, a win like this will give the fans a break. Will give Postecoglou a bit more safety, and you know, as I say, every time I'm on here, I'm behind the manager. I'm behind this project. I'm extremely happy at the moment. I'm really excited with these young players coming through. I mean, Bergvall and Archie Gray are great signings. I mean, you could say we overpaid maybe a little bit on Archie Gray. You could say, but it's safe to say you can sell him in this window for about 80 million if you want to. You could double your money. Not that we're going to, because I'm absolutely falling in love with these players. And even the goalkeeper, Tony, where did that come from? I mean, you have to give credit to the board, to the person that, you know, scouted him. If it was data-led, I mean, this is why we've changed. Spurs has changed in the last few years. I mean, where has this signing come from? No one wanted this signing. It came out of nowhere. and credit to the board to get it over the line so quickly and make such an impact on a game, because you could safely say if Foster played or maybe Brendan Austin played, we would not have a 1-0 lead against Liverpool going into, the second leg. And I mean, that game coming up at the moment, for me, personally, Liverpool away at Anfield is more important than Arsenal. Honestly, I want to be at Wembley for that final against whoever. And with our young squad, I'll believe that we can win. And I've said this many, many times. I want to see this football club win a trophy and celebrate on the high road. I've said this many times. I want to see how many fans fly to London for the open top bus parade. I was so jealous when West Ham got to go through that. I want to see this club, I want to see Chris talking about, winning a trophy. I want to see that. I want to see what what we do, what the podcast does, what the fans do. I want to see the pictures of the players lifting the cups.
Melvin, can you imagine? We're almost 3 hours in, which this was meant to be a 2-hour show. We're almost 3 hours in. We've got a lot of guests to talk to still. Can you imagine if we win a trophy, how long the podcast will be?
Chris, I've been listening nearly since the beginning. Brilliant guests all over the world. New York. As you know, I'm half Canadian, but I live in Malta because my parents are Maltese and I'm Maltese as well. So I've traveled the world and I've met Tottenham fans from all over. From New York, I've seen Tottenham in New York. I've seen Tottenham in Toronto. I've seen Tottenham in the UK. Tottenham fans are all over. And we all have a pretty good understanding of what we want to see from this football club. And, I think the club, they frustrate us a bit, but the direction of the club, I think we can see it. I've seen negative comments from time to time, people asking about, the project and the trajectory of the club, asking for signings. And I've seen, I think I've seen this from the beginning, what we're doing at the moment. We're investing in youth. We're data-led. Paratici, Johan Leng, and I think Levy's taken a step down from I think identifying the players. Maybe he's still involved in the deals and in the payments and the money side of football, but I think it's coming together slowly. And we've always called for patience, Chris. And when you see signings like Tony, the goalkeeper, coming in, and the way he's played, and you just get you get so excited over. I mean, I've always said, one Champions League level player will change our football club. And that's now wrong, because one Europa League player changed us. One Europa League level player changed us against Liverpool. The quality he gave us on the ball. And the team is good. The scouting department is good at identifying players that fit for the system, that fit for Spurs, because that player made us play so much better. And I was so impressed. And even Dragisin played better. Archie Gray was immense. Bergvall, I think, might replace Maddison, and we said that in the summer. I was one of them that was thinking, I'm not a fan of Maddison. I like him when on his day, and this season he's been good, and when he plays well, we win. But he's too inconsistent for me. I think he needs to step up, but Bergvall is stepping up. He took the opportunity and scored, and he played well. Yes, he could have been sent off, but you need to be playing on the edge. And with Spurs, we always play on the edge. And he was. And Chris, last time we beat Liverpool, we were at the Gilpin pub, and you said to me, "What we're going to do today?" And I said, "With a bit of luck, we'll beat Liverpool," and we did. We beat them 2-1. We had some luck with VAR. And that's how I feel with Liverpool. Liverpool are a very, very, very good team. And sometimes in football, you need a bit of luck. You need things to go your way. And on the day, it did. And we won 1-0. And we take that to Anfield, which is going to be a very, very difficult game.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm very excited because we need to get to this cup final.
Yeah, Melvin, last question for you. Yan Min-hyuk, does he start tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Postecoglou it's strange because he keeps things close to his chest, even with lineups. He surprises us at times with potentially like even playing players that we thought they were injured, and then he starts them. If you think it's wrong or right, I don't know, but he could throw him in the deep end, see what he could do. I mean, he's fully fit. He came back from a whole season, and yeah, I'd like to see him. I don't want to see Son anywhere near, not even on the bench. I'd leave him at home. I would leave many players at home, and tell them, listen, rest. Do whatever you need to do to wind down. Be ready for the North London derby. Obviously, take care of your body. Obviously, watch the game. Support the guys, and yeah, I'd love us to beat Tamworth. We have to stay in the cup. I'd love us to have another cup run. Every competition we're still in, it makes. I know the league's a bit dreadful this season, and we don't deserve to be there, but we're there. But a cup run will make the fans happy. I mean, I haven't hit the highs of that Champions League of Lucas Moura, and a little League Cup would definitely make the fan base really happy. And all of a sudden, we're not fighting and arguing and trying to bite each other's heads off, because it's been happening for the last couple of years, because there's such in a way, desperation for us to win a trophy because of how football and social media is, and with Sky Sports and Twitter and all of that. There's added pressure on the fans that we shouldn't have, but it is what it is, and I think the cups are all important at the moment. The league form is disappointing. We shouldn't be there with the stats and the performances we've had this season. We should be much higher, but it is what it is, and for me, it's all about the cups: League Cup, FA Cup, Europa League.
Melvin, as per usual, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much. We look forward to having you on the podcast very soon, and you've had some wonderful feedback from some of the viewers today as well. So thank you so much, and have a great weekend.
All the best, guys.
Cheers, Melvin. See ya.
See you.
We're now going to go back to New York to speak to Terry. Hopefully, the Wi-Fi is okay now. Terry, can you hear us? Are you okay?
I can. I resolved it. Sorry about that.
No worries. Let's go back to saying about how you're feeling as a Spurs fan right now. Of course, we face Tamworth tomorrow, Arsenal on Wednesday. Games are coming thick and fast still. We're still in all competitions. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I was just saying that it's amazing how one game can really kind of change the mood here. And kind of looking back in retrospect at the last month or so, I can't help but feel really proud of the squad and the players. Just to push through the injuries like they have, you see how spent some of those players are. I kind of take inspiration from Newcastle. Like if you think about Newcastle's team last year around this time, they were in a similar situation. They had more than 10 first team players out. I remember they had one of their midfielders, I think Lewis Miley. I think he was only 17, and he was still playing twice a week. And they just look spent. I mean, you remember, like we absolutely crushed them, dominated them last year. I'm hoping that's us. And you look at Newcastle this year, being able to stay healthy. It feels like we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't know how you guys feel, but just knowing that Richarlison might be coming back soon, that Romero and Van de Ven might be coming back soon. I also look at the kind of the past month and think, there is a silver lining there in that we've gotten to see more of Archie Gray and Lucas Bergwall than we had initially planned to, but you see kind of how they've really grown and blossomed. It feels cautiously optimistic. I'm scared to say that because every time we start to feel some bit of hope, it feels like we get punched in the face, right? So, but it does feel like that light is at the end of the tunnel. I want to just give a special shout out to Johan Lange. I mean, I feel like he doesn't get mentioned that much. I mean, Paratici gets a lot of love, and rightly so. I thought he was great. But if we think about his signings, so Solanke, obviously, Gray, Bergvall, and then I'm going to even throw Dragic into that. I think he's gotten a lot of undue criticism given his circumstances and his surroundings. I think those are 4 just fantastic signings. So I'm really happy with you on Langer.
Terry, since you went offline, we've had offers of accommodation from Matt in New Jersey, so he's already started to do his basement up for us. So may have missed out on some guests there, but no, I just want to talk about Heung-min Son actually. Tell us how big. I know you're in New York, but how big is Sonny in South Korea? Is he the global? He's their number one. He's almost like when David Beckham was David Beckham, even though David Beckham's still David Beckham in his country, but at his height, he's their number one, isn't he, over there?
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but he's bigger in Korea than Beckham was at his peak in England. I know, Chris, you've been to Korea, so I'm sure you've walked around and you saw all the advertisements everywhere.
Everywhere.
There's always a debate. I don't know if you guys. There's a Korean K-pop band called BTS that's really popular. It's not really my genre, but they're kind of, they call them like the Korean Beatles. There's an argument on who's bigger, whether it's BTS or Sun Heung-min. Like it's that big. It's hard to put into words until you actually see it. So I mean, I'm sure you guys going to the stadium, I mean, even on TV, when you see the number of Korean flags that are there, but when you actually go to the stadium, like the first time I went, just to see the number of Koreans who clearly had come from Korea or from other parts of the world to go there, that they weren't from England, it was amazing to see, and that's for him. That really is mostly for him. Yeah.
Terry, are you pleased that Son will obviously be at the football club for another year because the club have activated the clause in his contract? Are you pleased?
Oh yeah. I'm part of me kind of wishes he had gotten a new contract. It feels like if there's anyone who deserves to go out on his own terms, it's Sonny. Okay, even if he ends his career as a squad player coming off the bench, I feel like if anyone kind of gets a special pass, it should be him. I was a little worried when they didn't activate that extension. Like that would have been a really just a poor way to end that relationship. I mean, you can see him being an ambassador or having some type of role in the club for a long time, like Ledley King has now. So I was glad to see that. Part of me still wants to see an extension. I mean, performance-wise, I mean, I've said this before. I think it's really disappointing to see the drop-off in performance. But in terms of kind of what he's done for the club, not just performance-wise, but fandom-wise, just ambassador-wise, he deserves it all.
Terry, give us a score prediction for the Tamworth game tomorrow.
I gotta tell you, I can't wait. I think I've watched the Sun videos about the newspaper Sun videos about the grounds. I've seen your videos, Chris. I thought the Tamworth fan that you had on was fantastic. I was watching it on the train, just laughing out loud when he was talking about feeding the under 15s beer and pie and chips. Craig, we don't have anything that's even equivalent to that at all here in the States. The closest thing that I can think of, we have a college basketball tournament with 68 teams every year, where there are often big upsets. But it's nothing to this level where it's completely different leagues, I think it's absolutely fantastic. I'm looking forward to it for many reasons. In terms of score projection, I think it's going to be 4-1. I do think we're going to concede one.
Concede, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm really looking forward to seeing. I would love to see a front three of Yang on the right, Lancashire in the middle, and then Mikey Moore on the left. And stick with. I would love to see that. I'd love to see Dorrington play, even though Ange said something about him going out on loan. I'd like to see Dragoshin and Gray both get a rest, but obviously that's not possible. I'm really looking forward to that game. It just looks like it'd be really fun. I think Melvin had said that he'd like to see Sun stay home. I think just for the Tamworth fans and for that town, I think it'd be great for him to at least show up and sign some autographs, be on the bench and be in the stadium. Chris, did you get tickets to the game? I know they only have 800 seats. So
yeah, I think it's about 650 seats actually. I know the Sun reported it was 800, but from things that I've seen officially from the club, it's around 650. But I will be there tomorrow, so really looking forward to it. And I completely agree with you, Terry. I think the Sun should travel, but not play any minutes at all. Just be there because obviously the fans, the home fans, they want to see the Stars, even if it is, you know, Son walking around on the sidelines, you know, from the bench, whatever, sign a couple of autographs, have a couple of pictures, etc. I feel like he should be there. And as club captain, I think that, you know, you've got to do those types of things anyway. But as actually playing any football, any minutes, we need him to rest. Terry, you're always such a great guest. We love having you on the Spurs Chat podcast. We look forward to seeing you again and talking to you again soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, Terry.
Cheers, Terry. Bye.
We're now going to go to Andrew. Andrew, how are you?
Hi, I'm great, Chris and Craig. It's been a wonderful event so far, listening to all of the guests from all over the world. I know you have ended in the best country in the world: Jamaica, Caribbean, sunshine, everything. You want to come and get some of it?
Well, you are now definitely going to get the question: can Craig come and stay in Jamaica with us?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm actually fixing up a guest bedroom, so you can actually come and stay whenever you want, or you can come to Chris.
I'm up
doing a world tour at this rate. Wow.
Yeah, it's been a world tour.
Andrew, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now?
There are times when I'm a little, probably you could say despondent, a little bit down or whatever it is, but it's always a spur. I started watching, I think the first time we beat Liverpool, Aston Villa. I saw a clip of that game, 4-1 in 78, and I was just out of high school and stuff, so you know that we didn't get a lot of live football coverage then, and I just liked the way we played and whatever it is. I like the way we played, and I like huddle at the time and that kind of stuff. But then I started reading some history and realized that Spurs was one of the teams that first had black players on and that kind of stuff. And it really made a difference in how I felt about the team, how it is that they kind of embrace this culture of everybody. And so I've stuck with them since. I've got a lot of stick, especially from my Arsenal friends, but yeah, I'm here.
Andrew, I'm going to slightly different question from me, because I'm always fascinated to speak to people all over the world, as Chris has said. Is there a big Spurs following or football following in Jamaica? Is it a big sport over there? Because obviously you've got your athletics is a huge thing. What with Usain Bolt and Johan Blake and blah blah blah. It seems to be high up there. Is football up there with the athletics?
Oh yeah, definitely. As a matter of fact, football is probably the number one sport beside cricket. Cricket now is taking a beating against because the West Indies team is not doing as well as it could, and England is doing even better. But yeah, whatever. But the thing is that we have great players in cricket, in football, in athletics. We're not showcasing. I mean, what's his name played for Stoke City as one of our players for a number of years. Antonio, who's recently been one of those persons who's from England, who is now playing,
world tour. I'm up for that.
Yeah, you really should do a world tour for that. I'm all for that. But yeah, it's so we have always had great football. Johnny Barnes, who played for Liverpool and Watford and all that stuff, Jamaican parents and all that kind of stuff. So football has always been part of our DNA and culture. We have always been very athletic, generally speaking, but it's just I guess because it's what you call one of those developing countries, the funds to push sports in the way it is. Athletics mainly because it's an individual sport, it's easier to push. But if you look at our netball team, probably we are ranked in the top 4 in the world consistently ever since we started playing in the 50s. So we've always had very good sports teams. Similar to Australia, people underrate us. When we made the World Cup in 78 in France, people didn't even know what Jamaica was. We were like a bit like Ireland. Once you say Jamaican, you get stuck.
Andrew, what are your thoughts on Ange Postecoglou and the work that he's done at Spurs so far?
Oh, fantastic. I honestly think that he's going to be the manager that really does get us a trophy. I thought it was going to be Poch. I didn't think he got the support he needed when he was asking for the rebuild a year before he got started. I thought he would have started changing out some of the things, and I didn't think he got the support he needed. I know we were trying to build the stadium and all that kind of stuff. But like Poch said, then you can build this beautiful mansion and put the furniture in it. It's not going to look all that well. So now I think we made an error. I mean, I thought Mourinho would have probably do a little bit different. They would have changed. With the time he spent out of football, I thought he would have come back a little bit more what I call it now, a little less that hype, but he didn't. I didn't think Conte was always going to be. I don't know what it is with Sky at Forest now. The name slipped me now, but I didn't think that they were a fit for Tottenham in the way we played and what we were trying to do. So the football was boring, to be honest. With this one, like Daniel said in the podcast he had with the Spurs fans, we have actually gotten our Tottenham back. Now I want them to build on that and to ensure that we get to where we want to go. Because playing the way Ants plays, we can win trophies. We can challenge successfully for the title every single year, and that's what he's trying to build, a team that can challenge for a title every year and not just play and win a trophy and then you don't. I mean, Arsenal won a trophy in Arteta's first year. Where are they now? Still struggling to really can break Liverpool or City, and a lot of these teams were until they start spending big money, Chelsea, City, the rest of them, they were also rants in the league. It was always Manchester United and Liverpool for a number of years.
Andrew, who is your favourite Spurs player of all time, and who's your favourite current Spurs player?
Oh, well, there's so many to choose from. I mean, we could start with Ledley King and that's his work as a defender and how he read the game and the kind of things that he did. Klinsmann, this guy from France, name slipped me just now, who was just a genius with the ball at his feet, and that kind of Luka Modric. The way we played, all these players, Glenn Hoddle, the kind of flair that they brought spoke to a Jamaican kind of thing, which is why Brazilian football is so close to us, because of its flair and because we in the dance and the reggae and the samba and that kind of stuff. So when you see players expressing themselves that way on the field, I mean, like when Usain goes and brought that kind of individual flair and thing on the world stage, it made a difference. That's the Jamaican way. So once you've seen it, that's what attracted me to Tottenham. It's probably why so many, you have Man U fans and the what we call Arsenal fans in Jamaica, because of the way when they played, it attracted the kind of attention that they did. One trophy win here will make a big difference to the fan base, because there are a lot of Tottenham fans here, but most of us are in the older set, in the 50s, 40s, 60s, because we saw the team back then and what they were doing, and there were some persons who were born when we were winning the league in the 60s and in the 70s when we were the number one team in terms of the FA Cup. Not so much now, but I think with what we're doing now in rebuilding this team, it's going to be great. And if we change, as some people are asking, Angel, you change now and you just start another cycle again. I just think it's a real waste of time and money for everything that we're doing. But the players that we have now are going to be a real force to reckon with in another year.
Andrew, the most important question of the show so far: what's the best month for me and Craig to come and record a podcast at your house?
Anytime. We always have sunshine, so you probably want to come during the winter. Right now, up until March and so on. So it will always be great. There's always sun, there's always sea, there's always rum, and so there's always fun.
Oh, I like the rum said. I'll tell you what, Andrew, I love the Jamaican accent. It just sounds like you're singing all the time, and you're so laid back over there. It is one of the places I've always wanted to visit, funny enough, in the world. And Usain Bolt was one of my sporting heroes as well, so it makes it even more special place that he came from Jamaica. So, yeah, really good to talk to you today.
We have a lot more of the sporting icons in Jamaica, because there's always Shelly and Fraser Price, and there's several others, Merlin Artie and everything, who are here. And Otto Wint, who started this in 48 in London, he was an ambassador to London as a sporting icon. So it's really with that connection with the English motherland and Jamaica. We got some of the sports from you, so we just built on it and added our flair to it, which makes us awesome.
Andrew, on your wall behind you, it looks like you've got a number of awards. Are they sporting awards? Are they yours?
No, some of those are from my work as a coach and as an educator and thing. And there's this first fan a little bit at the back. There's the flag from thing, because I'm president of the Tottenham fan club here. We had a lot of persons come on when we had Marina in, but I thought in the end we found out there were more Mourinho followers than Tottenham supporters. So we kind of did a clearing out and rebuilding now and being more careful about who we had on as Spurs fans for the club.
Andrew, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. Please do send another brief about the Spurs Chat podcast. We would love to have you.
Always, Chris. It's one of the ways we stay connected, being this distance from I mean, that 9-hour flight to England and back when I did it was terrible because I'm not used. As a sports person, I mean, I teach physical education and sports, so you're not used to being confined, but sitting down and being in the one same space for 9.5 hours was no fun. So just imagine traveling for Sun to Korea and back, everything they are Richie going all the way to Brazil and the rest of it and coming back. It's no fun. So when they come on the field and you're not seeing them producing at the level that you expect them to, you understand that the body takes a time to recover. And so sometimes when I hear some of those fans talk, I'm like, you have absolutely no clue what it is that the person's body goes through when they do all that. And this team, which is why the fans are behind, and just playing 2-3 days every week for like 6 weeks straight, those players got to be like super tired. And to give the effort that they're doing, how can you not back them?
Yeah, very well said. Andrew, it's been an absolute pleasure to you, and we look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Looking forward to it, Chris. Always a pleasure.
Cheers, Andrew.
Have a great weekend.
All right.
Cheers. Wow. I tell you, we've had some fantastic guests on, and we are 3 hours 15 into this.
I think this is the record for the longest ever one. I think.
Absolutely. We do still have a couple of guests to come on. Matt, we'll come to you next. These guys have been waiting very, very patiently. So thank you so much. Matt. Oh, you're back.
It's me again.
Hello, Matt.
You guys are putting me on again?
I
was just hanging on to listen to everybody and talk and just see what everybody was writing. I want to hear some more comments.
He's changed. He's built his basement. Yeah, that's how long this podcast has been going for. Matt has changed clothes, grown a beard, and he's done his house up.
I went into a portal. I swear, everybody's up now. So now I could come up here. Now I could actually move about in my house. It's great.
Matt, don't worry. We've got some other guests to talk to. Thank you so much. We'll speak to you.
No problem. No problem, guys. Talk to you later.
Bye.
We're going back to the same old guests. Sorry about that. Let's go to Brazil. Channel regular G. G, how are you?
On mute, mate.
You're on mute. Let's see.
Sorry, guys.
Hello, G.
Loving the show, man. I'm so engrossed. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
We talk about backdrops and exotic places. You're in Brazil, G. You're right near the beach. You're in a wonderful place. How's life in Brazil right now?
It's superb. It's superb because the whole nation is celebrating the win that we've just done against Liverpool, which is superb, It's vibrating over here. I can tell you that right now. It's a fantastic place to live, like I said before, loving it. Just miss my football, but I get to see it here, which is great on the TV. It's enough for me.
I'll tell you what, I'm really jealous where you are, G, because it is freezing bloody cold.
Invite.
I'm just mapping it out. Go Korea, New York, New Jersey, down to Jamaica, and then
don't shoot there.
yeah, and then down to Brazil to pop in and see G for a cup of tea. G, what does the FA Cup mean to you, mate? What is it? One of the, because it does to me, as people watching this stream would know, it's always had a special place for me. What does the FA Cup mean to you, and do you think it's important that Tottenham go a long way this year in this competition?
Yeah, I think to me and to Spurs supporters in general, it's the cup. There's a lot of fantasy about it, from especially as older supporters, that have been there and seen us win it and been there and rejoiced in it and stuff. It's holds a special place for us, doesn't it? So this is no different. I mean, it's just like no competition ever in the world, I don't think. You can't look at us. We're playing Tamworth. What can it mean to that little town? It must be absolutely superb right now. The feeling going on around there must be a right buzz. It means a lot to me, and we need to win it again. I'm from that generation that knows us that we could boast about winning it the most. You know what I mean? I think when we overtook, was it Aston Villa? I think it was who had the record at the time, and then we took over from them. I think I'm right anyway. I'm not absolutely 100%, but I think I'm right in saying that. And the way we did it as well, the way we used to win, it wasn't like boring finals, or semi-finals or any way getting there. It was always cream of the crop stuff. You know what I mean? It means a lot.
Gee, I love asking people this question because we haven't won the FA Cup now for 34 years, which is unbelievable. How was life different for you all those years ago?
As a Spurs fan?
Well, generally.
It's totally different. It's another G. I don't know if I've lived so many lives since I've been alive. It's unbelievable. But as a Spurs fan, it's really changed a lot, because we were a cup team more than anything, weren't we? You know what I mean? Like we were the cup. That's what we did. You know what I mean? The league was never in it for us, really, apart from back in like '62 or stuff. Was when I was born, and so after that, it's just been about cups, isn't it? And that's why we are. And so I understand you, Chris, when you're always going on about we got to win a cup, we got to win a cup. I totally get it, absolutely totally get it, and I'm well on board with that as well. It's something that we do. It's something that we have to. But I think we can progress. I think we can. Since Pochettino, I think it's given us a taste of. We can do that top four and we can almost get there. Do you know what I mean? Like we were so close in recent years. And I think that the way the club is now, it's a totally different club to back then when I first started supporting Spurs or going to all the games and stuff. Even when I was watching us in the second division, which was mad, and I think back to those, that's what I'm saying. It's another lifetime, mate. I can't relate to that, what that is like now, especially for the younger supporters. I don't think they would ever, I hope they never, ever get to know that feeling, But I think now we're in a phase of somewhere where I'm really, really excited. Even when we've lost the last few games, I still see this change going on. I see something happening here. And I'm just very, very optimistic about it, I was thinking before, like, I love this format of the show. I think it's absolutely brilliant. I thought to myself, if ever I did a show, that's what I would want to do. I was thinking about how good this is, the way you've done this. So sorry, I just diverted there. I can't believe how good this show is. And the guests you've had on, I relate to Melvin actually from what he just said as well when he was on before. Seen him very few times on here, and he's very good. I've got to say, I think he summed up a lot of what I was going to say on here tonight. So if you want to know what I was actually thinking as my thought process was, go back to Melvin, because I think he actually echoed a lot of what I was thinking as well about where we are and where we're going and how things are,
It is amazing, G, isn't it? We've had a handful of guests on here today, from all around the world, but, people support the club in different ways. People go to every game. Some people go to the odd game here and there. A lot of people watch it at home. You've got the international fans waking up at a ridiculous hour, going into work after not even slept, watching the game. The support of our football club in every single sense is simply incredible, isn't it, all around the world?
Yeah, we have the best supporters. I've always said this. I've always thought this. I think we really do. We have an exceptional fan base. To go through what we go through year in, year out and still be there for the club. We're not like any other. That's why everybody hates us. They can't understand it. We're an exceptional fan base. And I think you've brought it all together on these shows. I was so proud to be on the first one that you aired. I thought it was brilliant. I watched it back as well. I thought the guests that you've had, the people that we talk to within our fan base are absolutely brilliant. They're very knowledgeable. They're very correct. We're not Arsenal fan TV, that's for sure. Do you know what I mean? We're way, way above that low grade. Sorry, I got to say it. I think a very intelligent fan base out here, and I know there are some that go on about Angel and whatever. And I've had my beef on here with one of them for a laugh, but even so, they're just fantastic fans, and I just love them all.
Well, your mate Alex is actually in the chat, and he's been asking people the question. When people have been saying that we could win a trophy this season, he's been asking, well, based on what? So perhaps you could answer, Alex, your mate, G.
I don't want to rise to Alex. You know what I mean? No, I'm only joking. He's a Spurs fan. He goes to the matches and stuff. I can't knock him. We've all got our own opinions and whatever. But I just see a massive difference here within the club. With what Ange's doing. I think the club is actually changed. I think Levy I hate to even think that he has done it, because I was really much Levy leave the football alone, not leave the club, but leave the football alone. I think he has actually done it. You look at the signings now that Ange's taken on. And the way he's progressed, even with the team, I think he learned a lot from the 6-3, by the way, against Liverpool. And that's why we played differently. As we've said on here, you know, we didn't run up. That second, after Maddison's goal, I revert back to what I said before, but after Maddison's goal, I do really think that was a turning key point of the whole game. The fact that Spence was in their penalty area when they scored, when they were down the other end scoring the goal. I think if he had been there, he would have stopped that ball, and I think we would have had a completely different game. To be honest with you, you know, I think we learned a lot. I think Ange learned a lot from that game as well. And that's why I think in the next game, I'm quite moderately confident. I think we're going to get through. I really do. I think we're going to do Tamworth as well. Of course, you know, I mean, you've got to really. You can't even think that we're going to lose or you know, have a problem with that game. It can't be done, you know. But every game as it comes, you know, this is what Ange is up against, you know, with what we've been up against with the injuries and the players' fatigue and all the stuff that everybody's been so correctly and rightly saying. It's each game as it comes, you know, and I'm just enjoying it so much more than I have for the last few years. You know, I literally was falling asleep watching Conti ball and stuff and just not having it, you know.
Can I jump in? You said about the FA Cup. Obviously, you remember back in the 80s about, you know, obviously winning it twice and getting to the final 3 times. And it did make me reminisce a bit because I used to love how Chaz and Dave used to bring out a new single every time we got to a final. And I personally think Hot Shot Tottenham in 1987 was our best song, and we lost it. So that memory as a kid, watching that FA Cup, used to be on the telly 3 or 4 hours before it kicked off. They used to have youth games on before and blah, blah, blah. And it was a huge thing. And I think the FA Cup has sadly lost a bit of that with whether it be the TV companies. I would always prefer a 3 o'clock kickoff on a Saturday. It's obviously sometimes moved to 5 o'clock. It's been stupid times. Last question for you. Do you prefer them days, or do you like this new world we're in now, where the FA Cup is seems to be almost, you know, not as important, and clubs don't take it as important they used to? Because the FA Cup's just history for me.
Yeah, I'm quite a progressive person. I've got to be honest. When I've done a project, I move on, I go somewhere else in the world, and I do it somewhere else. So I'm kind of that nature. So I like to adapt. I like change. I like to go on, but I like to have the memories of it, you know, and I think we have. We've been very lucky, Craig, that we've lived through that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely agree with you about what the romanticy of this FA Cup, you know, having those commentators come on there and have all the silly stuff go on before as well, all the fun stuff with the players and the wives and everybody, you know, and whatever went on, you know. Maybe it's time to bring that back. You know, this is a new format now. We're back. We're on YouTube now. This is something that we've never had. We never had this sort of thing in the past, you know, to play with. Maybe this is something now. When we get through to the FA Cup final, when we get through to the final in Europe, and when we get through Europa and also in League, when we get through to these 3 finals, I think it's going to be a time for maybe like this show to do the same thing. Do you know what I mean? Chris, is something you think about. It's extra work for you, mate. But I think you could do this. I think you could do the pre-warm-up shows and all the rest of it, have all these fantastic guests and stuff, and Craig running things out there as well while you're off in the bar.
No, G. Craig will be wanting to run things out in Jamaica and places like where you I won't see Craig at all.
No, absolutely. I can believe that as well, yeah.
Gee, what
I think it could be done, you know. I think this is the new, we just have to adapt with things, you know. But I totally get on board with what you're saying, Craig. We've been there, we've done it. We're very lucky, man. We're very lucky that we saw that. But we just have to make this happen now for what's happening right this second. You know what I mean? And I really believe Ange's going to do it. I think the whole process has changed. You know, we're getting players in. Ange's got players in. They're his players. He said about Gray, I've not heard managers talking like this before. They've always said, "Oh, I'm just a trainer here now," or "I'm just a." They belittled there. Conte belittling his stature at the club, and Jose the same, you know, and then having a go at us afterwards about the way things are. And I totally get it with Levy. I mean, but I think he definitely is. This guy's changing spots to stripes, you know, or whatever. You know, there's something happening here. The Solanke, they're all. Bergveld, they are all definitely Ange's signings. There's no doubt whatsoever. Look at the way he spoke about the goalkeeper. The idea was to get him in the summer. You don't talk like that if you're there for 5 minutes, or if we get a few losses, you're going to throw dummy out the pram like Levy normally does or whatever. You know, there is definitely this time a strategic plan and something is going on. And we've just been unlucky. Bentancur epitomises the unluck of our club. He really does. With the ban, with the injuries, even what happened the other day. Do you know what I mean? We have just been so unlucky. I don't normally believe in unluck and that, but I think if it is a thing, then we've definitely had more than our fair share. And it's going to be so good when this thing just clicks into place and we get the players back and Ange gets his players in. And then we're running around with trophy pictures on the walls and just loving it. You know what I mean? I really believe that's going to happen.
I certainly look forward to that. G, as always, you're absolutely brilliant, fantastic guest. Thank you so much. And you've become a real channel regular on here lately. So we look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Great channel. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you very much, Craig. And welcome to Brazil whenever you pass by on your...
Cheers, G.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.
We're now going to go to Steve. Steve, how are you?
Good afternoon, guys. How are you? Great show as always.
Steve,
Hi,
you've been in the green room for hours, so apologies about that. But as you know, we've got so many fantastic guests on. Do you agree with a lot of what people have said today?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think patience is needed. But I think that when I spoke to you the other night, I said about the Liverpool result, or my prediction, I said we can get something to take into that second leg. Over 2 legs, why not? Do you know what I mean? And that performance the other night was just absolutely fantastic from the team, right the way through the middle. And even Ange, and people say about Ange not tweaking his tactics, he did perfectly the other night. Even when Bentancur had to go off, tweaked it again, and we got a great result. So, yeah, I'm happy. I'm a lot more happy than I was the other day anyway, so...
Steve, I've seen you comment on the podcast many times, and thanks for all your great comments. I think you're on it, watching it more than I am. I think so. It really is good. But it just goes to show what the community it creates, and now with this, the world of technology, it kind of brings everybody closer, doesn't it? And it really is good. Obviously, you've been a Spurs fan for many years. The Arsenal game midweek. What does that mean to you, the North London derby?
It's massive. It's absolutely massive. I know some people go on about the West Ham game or the Chelsea game being bigger than that, but the North London derby is just a massive one, isn't it? You know, it's absolutely huge. So, yeah, I think, for me, very, very important.
Steve, what does the FA Cup mean to you? Because, of course, it was 91 since we last won it. Tamworth tomorrow. How are you feeling ahead of this one? And as we've spoken about a lot on this show so far, it is the opportunity that Ange Postecoglou can rest some of the players that have been, literally giving every single minute of the season so far. Dominic Solanke has been worked really, really hard. The amount of running that he does on and off the ball during games. Pedro Porro, Dejan Kulusevski, Heung-min Son, so many players that Ange could rest. Would you expect the likes of Dorrington and Lancashire to get 90 minutes at Tamworth?
Yeah, I think it would be great if some of the youngsters are given a chance, and like you say, to rest Solanke, Kulusevski, players like that. Yeah, I think it's important because obviously we've still got a lot of players out. So yeah, I think giving the youngsters a chance, maybe a mixture of both, like some of your other guests have said previously today. Making sure that they, get, mixture of both really, I think would be helpful. Get the job done, and then just concentrate on Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this week is a big part of the club's season. I'm by this week, I'd say going back to the Liverpool game as well, because obviously 2 cup games in the space of 4 or 5 days, and then the North London derby. And I think it was a perfect start to this period against Liverpool, wasn't it, Steve? And do you think that one result could really kick us on in our season and change our fortunes almost?
Well, I hope so, but also, like we've been here before, we thought after the Man City game that may, kickstart our season. Even the way we came back against Coventry at the beginning of the season, I thought, oh yeah, here we go. Great result. Let's kick on now. But it just doesn't seem to have happened. But I think the Liverpool result the other day felt different because obviously we'd lost to them 6-3 only like 17 days previously. So we pretty much had the same team out, apart from the goalkeeper, obviously, who I thought was absolutely amazing on his debut. Absolutely fantastic. So to go from losing 6-3 to Liverpool to then beating them 1-0 in the space of 17 days, that's improvement. Do you know what I mean? That was a massive result because I bet even you, Chris, went to the stadium thinking, what's the score going to be tonight? Do you know what I mean? Are we going to get absolutely hammered and the time would be over? But we got a 1-0 win. We can go up to Anfield with confidence. And I was watching them play Accrington Stanley earlier, and I know they've made a few changes, but they really struggled for half an hour against Accrington Stanley. They just didn't have any answers. Accrington Stanley were just going at them constantly, so they can be troubled. So yeah, I think you're right, Craig. I think hopefully this time that Liverpool result will actually now go, all right, yeah, let's kick on now, and we'll get our players back, and hopefully we'll have a better second half of the season. So, yeah.
Steve, you talk about the, hopefully it's a better second half of the season. I feel like a lot of Spurs fans at the moment, particularly in this chat, and particularly a lot of the people that we've spoken to today all around the world, I think a lot of people are holding their hopes, and some are expecting us to win a trophy, particularly after Andrew said a number of times that he always wins a trophy in his second season. We saw the shift in attitude amongst the Spurs fan base after Wednesday, because I think a lot of people, didn't really expect us to go and beat Liverpool on Wednesday, particularly with the amount of injuries that we've got. Do you feel like the attitude could shift again if we don't go through to that Carabao Cup final, and if we go out the FA Cup and the Europa League at some point?
Sorry, can you repeat that? My dog's barking in the background, so I do apologise.
It's just I was saying about the attitude of like Spurs fans. I feel like a lot of them are expecting us to win a trophy, and we saw that change in attitude with the Spurs fans on Wednesday when we beat Liverpool, because I think a lot of people expected us to lose the game.
Yeah.
Do you think that attitude could change again dramatically if Spurs suddenly go out of cup competitions? Because, when we're 12th in the league, I suppose a lot of people are thinking, well, okay, we're 12th in the league, but we could, and there is a good chance of us going to lift a trophy this season.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, if we go out of the cup competitions, then I think, yeah, a lot of fans will shift back to saying and out. But if we can deliver a trophy, like we're 2 games away from a final and winning a trophy. So, if he wins a trophy in less than 2 years, surely that can only be a good thing. That'd be progression. So yeah, but I think it's difficult at the moment, isn't it? I think everybody's sort of on the either and in and out. It's pretty level playing field at the moment. So yeah. Sorry, my dog in the background's like it's been quiet for 3 hours, and now he's like.
Steve, I think your dog is doing the talking for Craig to say to me, look, we've been on here for nearly 4 hours. Let's get off now. Steve, thank you so much for coming on again. You've been great. Look forward to talking to you again soon.
Lovely. Thanks, guys. And let's hope for a good result for the next few days anyway.
Cheers, Steve. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, guys. Great show as always.
Thank you.
Bye.
Craig, wow, what a show. I've got to end by asking you a couple of questions. Just had a notification as well that the Spurs women were meant to be in FA Cup action in the 4th round tomorrow away at Everton, but the game has now been postponed. The club statement has said, we can confirm that Sunday's women's FA Cup fixture against Everton has been postponed due to a frozen pitch. So that will, of course, be rescheduled at some point. Craig, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about team selection for tomorrow. Now, this is the predicted lineup from the Standard. Kinsky, Spence, Dorrington, Dragushin, Reguilon, Sarr, Bergvall, Moore, Maddison, Werner and Lancashire. Of course, we know that players are out injured. Vicario, Udogie, Bentancur, Davis, Romero, Van der Ven, Richarlison, Forster, Odegaard. The standard obviously haven't gone with Heung-min Son in their starting 11. Neither Dominic Solanke, Kulusevski. Out of this predicted 11, what do you agree with? What don't you agree with? Craig, I think you're on mute now.
I do apologise. Yes. Kinsky, yes. Spence, yes. Dorrington, I don't think we'll get a start, because if we're looking to loan him, I don't think that will be risked. I would imagine it will be Archie Gray and Dragushin. Centre backs, Reguilon, yes. Sarr, definitely. Bergvall, probably. And Maddison has got to come in. And more Werner and Lancashire. I have to say that should be enough to get past Tamworth, with all due respect. So I would imagine the starting 11 is not far off there, and I'd be happy with that. With obviously swapping out Dorrington. As much as I'd like to see Dorrington get game time, I'd like to see him play. I don't think he will play.
You don't think Dorrington will play?
No, if they're looking to loan him, I'm not sure they're going to risk playing him if they look to loan. I mean, it's not like a sale, is it? I suppose so. He could get a few minutes. I mean, I'll be really pleased to see Dorrington start. I really would be, but I just think he will go just with that little bit of solidity. I wouldn't be surprised to see Gray and Dragushin at the back again.
Surely, though, Craig, if you can't play Dorrington and Will Lancashire in games like this, when are they ever going to get any game time?
I totally agree. But I think if they're looking to loan Dorrington and that move is close for him, I'm not sure they'll risk playing him. It's not to say I don't want to see him, because I would love to see him, especially and Will Lancashire as well. But Will's in obviously a different position in his Tottenham career. Dorrington obviously had that bad injury. He was out for a long time. Almost looked like he should have been pushing for being in the first team squad. And he had that hamstring injury, which sort of stopped him in his tracks for a little while. But he's coming back. I'd love to see him play, but I'm just not sure we're going to see it tomorrow. I hope I'm wrong.
Lastly, Craig, I want to ask you a little bit about Timo Werner, because I feel like this is a game where, when a player is lacking confidence, when a player has missed a number of opportunities in front of goal, surely he's going to get chances in a game like this. This is probably the perfect game for someone like him to play. But as I always say, when you go out there, no matter who you're playing, whether it's home away, whether it's in the Premier League or a cup competition, you've got to take your opportunity. Timo Werner, is he going to take his opportunity against Tamworth, do you think?
I hope he does. I really do. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Timo Werner, even though he's not produced as much as we want him to, and his finishing's not brilliant. I think he's got to perform tomorrow. He will get that start, I'm sure, and he just needs to go out there and show everyone the Timo Werner that was at Leipzig when he first burst on the scene before he went to Chelsea. It's going to be difficult, but as you say, if you can't do it tomorrow, when can you do it? So, yeah, I've said fully behind any player that plays in our shirt, and Timo Werner's wearing our shirt at the moment. So, fingers crossed, Timo can pull one out of the bag tomorrow.
Steve has just said, I've got a video of my dog shout or barking coys. I tell you, this channel, we speak to people all around the world. Now it's turned into Britain's Got Talent.
Brilliant.
Craig, I tell you what, we've been on here for nearly 4 hours. What a show it has been. It doesn't feel like 4 hours to me. It might be to you, but it doesn't feel like it to me. We've spoke to people all around the world. All joking aside, these places. Where would you like to visit?
I'll tell you, I got it planned in my head. I'm thinking like fly out to Korea, and then fly down to Singapore, see Dustin, and then perhaps down into Australia to see Mark, and then up to New York, see Terry, pop over and see Matt in New Jersey, down and see G in Brazil, and then it was the Jamaican show, Andrew. We'll just finish off with a week on the beach with Andrew in Jamaica. So it sounds brilliant to me. The world tour is on with 100%.
Wow. Well, you give so much time up, Craig, for this podcast. So thank you so much indeed for all of your input. You've been absolutely brilliant. as always.
No worries.
What's your score prediction, by the way, for Tamworth game?
4-0 Spurs.
4-0, yeah. Well, any win, get in the hat for the fourth round. Have a great weekend, everyone. Craig, thank you so much. Thank you so much for everyone listening and for watching. Just a reminder, if you can vote for us, it would literally take a couple of seconds. It is that quick. We have been shortlisted at the Sports Podcast Awards for the or in the category of Best Team Podcast. So it would only take a couple of seconds to vote for us. If you could, it would be really, really appreciated. And we will see you again very soon. We will actually see you after the Tamworth game when hopefully Spurs have gone through to the fourth round. We'll see you on the next one. And until then, come on, you Spurs.